The shutters were what made Travis laugh. He stood beside their father's restored Ford, turning the new keys to Mercer Custom Harvesting around one finger, and looked across the lane at the farmhouse Claire had just inherited. "You know what it looks like?" he said. "A coffin somebody forgot to bury." Wade pressed his lips together, but not fast enough to hide a smile. Every window was covered by a black wooden shutter. Moss softened the porch steps. One corner of the gutter hung loose, pointing at the ground like an accusing finger. Claire held a ring of rusted keys that left an orange stain across her palm. "At least a coffin comes with handles," Travis added. A car door shut behind them. Evelyn Shaw, their father's retired nurse, had parked at the end of the lane. She didn't call out. She only watched Claire while holding a grease-spotted envelope against her coat. Claire's name was written on the front in her father's hand. Wade noticed it too. His smile disappeared. For one sharp second, Claire thought he knew what was inside. Then Travis jingled the business keys again and asked, "Think the raccoons are paying rent?" 3 days earlier, Claire had still been in Indianapolis, eating vending machine crackers in the basement break room at Golden Oaks Assisted Living. The crackers were stale, the coffee was worse, and her supervisor, Denise, had just informed her that Thursday's evening shift had been removed from the schedule. "Census is down," Denise said, as if the residents had collectively decided to become less old. Claire stared at the printed schedule taped to the cabinet. "You called me in twice last week, and I appreciated your flexibility. Flexibility doesn't pay rent." Denise sighed and leaned one hip against the sink. She was a fundamentally decent woman who became less decent whenever payroll was involved. "I can put you first on the call list. I'm already first on the call list. Then you'll probably get hours." Probably was a dangerous word. Probably meant Claire would keep her phone volume on while showering. Probably meant taking the bus across town only to be sent home after 2 hours. Probably meant her landlord would slide another pink notice under the door of her basement studio and pretend the leak behind the baseboard was caused by her houseplants. Her phone vibrated on the table. Wade. She considered letting it ring. Wade called on holidays, after storms, or when he needed their mother's old potato salad recipe. The last time, he had asked whether Claire remembered where Roy kept the title to a hay wagon. She answered, "Hey, Claire." Something in the way he said her name made her sit down. Behind him, she heard an engine idling and a door slamming. Farm sounds. Home sounds, though she had trained herself not to call them that. "It's Dad," Wade said. "Evelyn found him this morning." Claire looked at the crackers in her hand. One had broken between her fingers, leaving salt in the lines of her skin. Found him where? In his chair. The question had been stupid, but she had needed to ask it. Wade cleared his throat. She said it was peaceful. Was she there? She came for the morning visit. Morning visit. As if Roy might still be expecting the afternoon one. Claire rubbed the salt from her palm onto her black work pants. "When?" "Couple hours ago. Travis is calling the funeral home." "Oh, you should come down." It wasn't an invitation. It wasn't cruel either. Wade spoke the way he always did when emotion entered the room, like a man reading instructions off the side of a chemical drum. "I'll come," she said. "All right." She waited for him to say something else. "I'm sorry. Are you okay?" He asked about you. Anything that might tell her what kind of daughter she had been in her father's final hours. Instead, Wade said, "Weather's supposed to turn tonight. Leave before it freezes." Her landlord's notice was waiting when she got home. Claire packed one duffel bag, then stood in the middle of her studio, wondering what a person was supposed to bring when her father died. Black dress, toothbrush, phone charger. She added an old sweatshirt of Roy's that she had stolen at 19 and never returned. Mercer Harvesting was cracked across the chest in faded yellow letters. The drive south took 4 hours because sleet coated the interstate near Bloomington. Claire kept both hands tight on the wheel of her 12-year-old Honda. The transmission whined whenever she climbed a hill. She tried to remember her final conversation with Roy, not the subject, the exact words. He had called 6 weeks earlier while she was helping a resident locate a missing hearing aid. Roy asked whether Indianapolis had gotten snow. Claire said not much. He said they had 4 inches at the farm. She told him to let Wade clear his steps. "I don't need Wade clearing my steps," Roy had said. "Then let Travis. I'd rather break a hip." She laughed. Roy didn't. A woman shouted for help in the hallway, and Claire said, "Dad, I've got to go. I'll call Sunday." She could not remember if she had called Sunday. By the time she reached the Mercer place, the sleet had turned to rain. The big machine shed glowed under white security lights. Wade's truck sat outside Roy's small brick ranch house, where he had lived since moving out of the farmhouse. Travis's truck was parked crooked across the gravel, as though even grief could not persuade him to use one space. Claire remained in her car until the windshield fogged. Then the front door opened. Wade came down the walk without a coat. He was 36, broad through the shoulders, with Roy's heavy brow and Ellen's habit of tugging one earlobe when tired. He opened Claire's car door before she could reach for the handle. "You made decent time. I left right away, I figured." He took her duffel from the back seat. Claire climbed out and waited to be hugged. Wade seemed to realize it a moment later. He put one arm around her, duffel still in his other hand, and squeezed hard enough to knock the breath from her. Then he released her and looked toward the road. "Transmission sounds bad." "Hello to you, too. I'm just saying. I know what you're saying." Inside, the house smelled like coffee, damp coats, and the menthol rub Roy used on his hands. Travis stood at the kitchen counter making sandwiches. He wore a ball cap indoors and had lined up bread slices with surprising precision. He looked over his shoulder. There she is. Claire braced for a joke, but Travis crossed the kitchen and hugged her properly. For several seconds, none of them spoke. Then he stepped back and said, "You look skinny. That's the basement apartment diet." "You live in a basement?" "Half underground. Very exclusive." Travis nodded solemnly. "Like a potato." She laughed before she could stop herself. It came out wrong, too loud, almost a bark. Wade turned away. Travis returned to spreading mayonnaise. Roy's brown recliner was empty. Claire could see the worn dip where his shoulders had rested and the folded newspaper on the floor beside it. His reading glasses sat upside down on the lamp table. She had expected some sign of interruption, a spilled cup, a blanket trailing to the carpet, but the room looked prepared for him to walk back into it. "Where's Evelyn?" she asked. "Went home," Wade said. "She stayed until the funeral director came." "Was Dad sick last night?" "He was 72 and stubborn," Travis said. "That was his main condition." Wade gave him a look. "What?" He'd say the same thing. Claire touched the top edge of Roy's chair. The vinyl was cool. On the kitchen table lay a yellow legal pad covered in Wade's handwriting. "Funeral home, pastor, flowers, call Dad's cousins." There were check marks beside nearly everything. "You've done all this already?" "Stuff has to get done," Wade said. There it was, the Mercer family religion. Not love, not forgiveness. Stuff getting done. The funeral passed in a blur of wet shoes and casserole dishes. Adults Claire had not seen in years held both her hands and told her she had her mother's eyes. Men from the grain elevator slapped Wade's shoulder. Women from church asked Travis whether he was eating. Evelyn Shaw stood near the back in a navy coat, silver hair pinned at the nape of her neck. Claire tried twice to reach her. Both times, someone stepped between them. At the cemetery, Evelyn remained beside Roy's grave after everyone else started toward the cars. Claire saw her touch 2 fingers to the coffin spray, then slip one hand into her coat pocket. The envelope appeared for only a second. Claire recognized Roy's blocky handwriting, but couldn't read the name before Wade called, "We're leaving." That evening, the 3 siblings ate reheated chicken in Roy's kitchen. "Funeral home said the bill was handled," Wade said. "Dad prepaid," Travis replied. "Man didn't trust us to pick a coffin. He didn't trust you not to add racing stripes. Would have looked good." Claire pushed peas around her plate. "When do we deal with the will?" Wade and Travis exchanged a glance so quick they might have practiced it. "Tomorrow morning," Wade said. "You already knew?" "Mr. Leland called me." "Why didn't he call all of us?" "Because Dad listed me as contact." Travis drank from his beer. Oldest son privilege. Comes with back pain and an unnatural interest in drainage. Wade ignored him. "It's straightforward, Claire. The business stays intact. Dad didn't want it chopped up. I didn't ask him to chop it up. Nobody said you did. You looked at me when you said it. I'm sitting across from you." Travis set his bottle down. "Can we make it through one meal before everybody starts hearing things nobody said?" Silence settled over the table. Claire looked at the 3 empty chairs around them. In the farmhouse, Ellen's long table had seated 14, if people squeezed. Here, Roy had bought a square table for 4. The will was read the next morning in Mr. Leland's cramped office above the pharmacy. The lawyer spoke in a dry voice while rain tapped the windows. Wade and Travis received Mercer Custom Harvesting in equal shares, including the machines, buildings, contracts, and Roy's Ford. Claire received the farmhouse on Old Quarry Road, its contents, and the adjoining 11 acres. For a moment, she thought there must be another page. Mr. Leland removed his glasses. "Your father was specific." "About the house?" Claire asked. "About all of it." Travis shifted in his chair. Wade studied the carpet. The brothers had known. Not every detail, perhaps, but enough. 40 minutes later, they stood in front of the shuttered farmhouse. Travis made his coffin joke. Wade offered to arrange demolition. Claire stared at the rust on her keys and wondered whether Roy had left her a home, a burden, or one final judgment. Then Evelyn arrived with the envelope. She stopped in front of Claire and held it out. "Your father made me promise," she said. Wade took one step closer. "Promise what?" Evelyn didn't look at him. Claire accepted the envelope. Her father's handwriting pressed through the paper hard enough to leave grooves beneath her name. Why didn't he give it to me himself? Evelyn's face softened, though her answer did not. "Because your father was brave about dying," she said. "He was a coward about this." Claire turned the envelope over. Roy had sealed it with a strip of gray duct tape. "That's Dad," Travis said. Trusting glue would be an act of recklessness. Evelyn gave him a look that could have sterilized surgical equipment. "What?" he said. "It's duct tape." Claire slipped one fingernail beneath the edge. She stopped when the paper began to tear. Wade held out a pocket knife. "Here." She hesitated, then took it. The blade was clean and recently sharpened. Wade had always carried a knife. Roy used to say a man without one was just waiting to borrow somebody else's. Claire cut along the top of the envelope. Inside were 4 sheets of lined paper, folded around a smaller yellow note. She recognized the paper from the legal pads beside Roy's recliner. His handwriting wandered downhill, the letters larger than they had been on old birthday cards. "Claire, before you decide anything, open the shutters." That was all he had written on the yellow paper. Travis leaned sideways, trying to see. "That it?" Claire folded the note over. "No." Wade glanced at the farmhouse. "You don't have to do this standing in the rain." It was barely raining now, but his practical tone made her want to stay exactly where she was. She unfolded the longer pages. "Claire, I am asking Evelyn to keep this because I have made it hard for you to hear me and harder for myself to speak. That is my fault." Her vision blurred. She blinked until the ink settled. She read silently while her brothers shifted on the gravel. Roy wrote that the house had not been closed because it was unsafe, though parts of it now might be. He had shut the shutters the month he moved into the ranch house and had never opened them again. At first, he blamed his knees, the stairs, and the cost of heating rooms he did not use. Those things were true, he said, but they were not the truth. The truth was Ellen. "I could not walk through that kitchen without expecting your mother to tell me my boots were dirty. I could not look up at the east bedroom without seeing the lamp on when she was sick. Closing the shutters was easier than admitting an empty house had beaten me." Claire pressed her thumb against the next line. "When your mother needed care, you did what I could not do. You gave up school, and instead of thanking you, I acted like you had failed to finish something. I was ashamed to need my daughter. Shame comes out mean if you let it sit long enough." A drop of water struck the page. Claire first thought it was rain, then realized the rain had stopped. She turned slightly away from her brothers. Behind her, Travis cleared his throat. "Claire?" She kept reading. "The boys know the fields and the machines. They stayed and learned the work I knew how to teach. You know what a house is for. Your mother knew it too. I hope I have not taught you too late that those are different kinds of work." The last paragraph was shorter. "There is a black notebook with Evelyn. It is not money, so don't get excited. It is things I remembered too late. Take the house if you want it. Sell it if you need to. But open the shutters before you decide it is dead. I made enough decisions in the dark." Roy had signed it Dad, then added, "Tell Travis the Ford still pulls left because he hit the culvert in '09. Claire laughed into her hand. The sound cracked in the middle. "What?" Travis asked. She looked up at him. "You hit a culvert?" His face changed. "That is completely unrelated. With Dad's truck, there was ice." "It was July," Wade said. "Loose gravel is summer ice." Evelyn's mouth twitched. For a few seconds, they were 3 siblings standing under the same old joke, and Roy was almost present, not improved by death, not suddenly tender, just close enough to irritate them. Then Wade looked at the pages in Claire's hands. What did he say about the business? Nothing. Nothing at all? The letter's to me. I understand that. Do you? Wade's jaw tightened. I'm asking because Dad had a habit of putting 3 subjects in one sentence. No, he didn't say anything about the business. Travis shoved both hands into his coat pockets. What's in the notebook? Evelyn answered. Things Roy remembered too late. Meaning? Meaning, those are the words he used. Wade looked from Evelyn to Claire. Claire saw calculation there, but not greed exactly. Anxiety. The will had handed him everything he expected, yet the existence of a private letter had unsettled him. If this is going to turn into a problem, he began, we ought to know now. Claire stared at him. Dad apologizes to me, and your first question is whether it'll cause you a problem. I didn't hear an apology. You wouldn't let us hear the letter. It had my name on it. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. You keep saying that right before you suggest I did. Travis exhaled loudly. Good. We made it past breakfast. Evelyn stepped between Claire and Wade without making it look like she had. The notebook is at my house, she said. Roy asked me to give it to Claire after she opened the shutters. Everybody's really committed to the shutters, Travis said. Evelyn faced him. Your mother painted every one of them. That quieted him. Claire looked at the nearest window. The black paint had gone chalky with age. Rust streaked the hinges beneath the eaves. She closed the pocket knife and handed it back to Wade. I'm going inside. Today? He asked. I have the keys. You don't know what shape the floors are in. Then come with me. He glanced at his clean boots. Travis grinned. That sounded like a challenge. It was an invitation. Same thing in this family. The front key resisted so badly that Claire checked it twice against the ring. Wade finally took it from her, leaned his shoulder into the swollen door, and turned until the lock gave with a metallic snap. Air sighed out through the gap. The smell was not one thing. Damp plaster, old wood, mouse droppings, cold ashes, and something faintly sweet beneath it all. Travis covered his nose. That's promising. Claire pushed the door wider. They entered the narrow front hall. Their shoes disturbed dust thick enough to hold tracks. A lace curtain hung beside the door, brown at the edges. The staircase rose into darkness. Claire reached automatically for the light switch. Power's off, Wade said. Has been for years. Evelyn turned on a small flashlight from her purse. Travis pulled out his phone. Wade had a heavier flashlight clipped to his belt, because of course he did. Their beams moved through the front parlor. Most of the furniture remained under white sheets. Roy had taken his recliner, his clothes, the television, and very little else. The upright piano stood against the wall with Ellen's ceramic lamp on top. Claire could see the dustless outline where a framed photograph had once sat. Dad, leave this stuff because he wanted it here, she asked, or because he didn't want to move it. Yes, Travis said. Wade lifted a corner of one sheet. This sofa's probably ruined. Don't start pricing the contents. I wasn't. You were touching it. I touch things before I price them. Claire stared at him. That was a joke, he said. It was so unusual that she almost missed it. At the first parlor window, she felt for the latch. The inside fastener was a simple iron bar that dropped into brackets across both shutters. She lifted it, then pushed. Nothing happened. The hinges will be frozen, Wade said. Claire put both hands against the wood and pushed harder. Dust rained from the frame. One shutter moved half an inch, letting in a blade of pale daylight. Travis joined her without being asked. On 3. You always push before 3. I have enthusiasm. You cheat at moving furniture. Also enthusiasm. They pushed together. The shutter groaned outward, then stopped abruptly. Vine, Wade said from outside the beam of light, probably wrapped around it. He disappeared through the front door. A moment later, branches scraped the siding. Something snapped, and the shutter swung open so suddenly that Travis stumbled into Claire. Cold light poured into the room. Dust floated everywhere, bright and slow. The wallpaper was faded green, patterned with tiny white leaves. A water stain spread across one corner of the ceiling, but the rest appeared intact. The old sofa looked ugly rather than destroyed. Claire moved to the other shutter. Wade freed that one too. When both stood open against the outer wall, the room changed shape. It was smaller than Claire remembered and less grand, but the wide pine floorboards glowed amber under the dust. Travis looked around. Well, raccoons haven't decorated, Claire said. Yet. They worked their way through the front rooms. Some shutters opened with a shove. Others required Wade's pruning saw, or the oil he kept in his truck. One lower hinge pulled loose and dropped the shutter sideways. Claire caught it against her shoulder before it struck the ground. A nail tore her coat sleeve. "Hold up," Wade said. "I've got it." "No, you've got a 50-pound board leaning on your neck." Together, they lowered it onto the porch. Wade examined the hinge, wood soft around the screws. "Can it be fixed?" "Anything can be fixed if you hate money." "That sounds encouraging." "It's honest." Travis emerged carrying a dead mouse by the tail. "Found a resident." Claire pointed toward the yard. "Eviction." He tossed it into the weeds, then wiped his hand on Wade's coat. Wade looked down slowly. "You have 5 seconds." Travis ran. Claire laughed again, this time without breaking. In the kitchen, the humor left them. A section of ceiling had fallen over the sink. Plaster covered the counter, and a copper pipe showed through the opening above. The linoleum had curled black at the edges. Cabinet doors hung open beneath a row of blue glass knobs Ellen had bought at a flea market. Claire stepped around the debris. Her mother's yellow mixing bowl sat upside down on the drying rack. It had been there 6 years. Claire turned it over. A small crescent-shaped chip marked the rim. Ellen had used that bowl for biscuits, potato salad, pie dough, everything. She used to rest it against her hip while stirring, refusing every offer to hold it. "She wouldn't throw that thing away," Travis said from behind Claire. "Neither would Dad. He left a collapsed ceiling over it. That isn't the same as throwing it away." "No," Travis said. "I guess not." Wade stood in the doorway, shining his flashlight into the hole. Leak came from the upstairs bathroom. Supply line, maybe. Roof doesn't look too bad from outside. "Too bad compared to what?" Claire asked. "A roof on the ground." She brushed plaster dust from the bowl with her sleeve. "You can't stay here," Wade said. "I didn't say I was staying. You said you were going inside. That's been accomplished." Claire set the bowl on an unbroken part of the counter. "I need to see upstairs. The stairs might not be safe. You walked across the porch after telling me the porch wasn't safe. I know where to put my weight." "And I don't?" Wade's face tightened, then softened by a degree. "Claire, I'm not trying to run you off." "From the hall," Travis said. "You offered to demolish her inheritance 12 minutes after she got it. That was a practical option. You smiled at the coffin joke. I did not. You did with your neck." Claire moved past them. The staircase creaked under her first step. She knew that sound. It had always creaked there, just above the bottom riser, a complaint older than any of them. At the landing, she raised her phone light. 4 bedroom doors stood open along the broad hall. Beyond them, at the eastern end, a pair of shutters met over the largest window. Claire crossed to it. The iron bar lifted easily. The shutters opened at her touch, spilling morning light across the floorboards and up the opposite wall. Pencil marks covered the doorframe beside the nearest room. Flood years, harvest dates, initials. Roy's handwriting, Ellen's and Mark's, left by people Claire could not name. At eye level, nearly hidden beneath the dust, someone had written, "Came empty. Left fed." Evelyn had climbed the stairs behind her. She read the words over Claire's shoulder. "Your mother wrote that," she said. "For who?" "For everyone." Claire looked down the bright hallway, then at the rooms waiting on either side. "How bad is it really?" she asked. Evelyn did not insult her with hope. "Bad enough to cost you," she said. "Good enough to make the choice difficult." Claire ran one finger across the words. Dust gathered beneath her nail. "Did she mean people staying here?" she asked. "Sometimes." "What does sometimes mean?" "It means your mother was bad at saying no, and very good at finding clean sheets." Evelyn moved into the nearest bedroom. Daylight from the hall followed her partway. Catching the metal curve of an old bed frame and a dresser with one drawer missing, she opened the closet. 3 empty wire hangers clicked together. "I slept in this room," she said. Claire leaned against the doorframe. "You did?" 1986. I'd just started at the county hospital. My apartment wasn't ready, and the motel was $43 a night. Travis appeared at the top of the stairs. Highway robbery. It had vibrating beds. He reconsidered. "Luxury has a price." Evelyn pointed at him. "That sense of humor is going to leave you stranded somewhere. Already has." Wade climbed up behind him, less amused. He tapped the stair rail with his knuckles, as though the house had personally requested an inspection. "How long did you live here?" Claire asked Evelyn. 5 weeks. Then I moved into town. Mom never told me. You weren't around yet. I mean, later." Evelyn shrugged. Ellen didn't keep a record of every person she helped. She kept a record of everything else. That was your father. Your mother kept people. Roy kept receipts. Claire looked into the room again. She tried to picture Evelyn younger, arriving with a suitcase and a nurse's uniform. It was easier to imagine the room empty. Wade moved past them and pressed the toe of his boot against a dark spot near the wall. Floor's solid here. Careful, Claire said. I'm being careful. I meant with the floor. He looked up. What did you think I meant? I don't know. You've been delicate as lace all morning. Travis snorted. Wade walked out without answering. They checked the other rooms one by one. 2 were dry. The third had peeling wallpaper and a cracked window behind the shutter. The east bedroom, Ellen's room during the final months of her illness, held only a narrow bed, a lamp, and a wooden chair. Claire stopped outside it. No one tried to pass her. The lamp had a pink ceramic base painted with white roses. Claire remembered its low glow beneath the door at 2 in the morning. She remembered carrying mugs of tea that Ellen rarely drank, crushing pills, changing sheets, sitting in that chair with a textbook open on her lap, and realizing she had read the same paragraph 6 times. The room was smaller than the memory. She stepped inside. The mattress had been stripped, but a pale indentation showed where someone had sat on its edge. Dad used to come up here? Claire asked. Evelyn answered from the hall. Not after he closed the house. I mean, before. Some? Claire repeated. Roy had slept in the downstairs parlor during Ellen's illness, claiming his snoring kept her awake. Claire had believed him because believing him required less energy than resenting him. She touched the lamp switch. He couldn't do it. No, Evelyn said. Claire waited for an explanation that might turn cowardice into tragedy. Evelyn gave her none. Did he talk about her? Claire asked. Every visit, usually to complain. That pulled a smile from Claire. About what? The way she loaded a dishwasher, the hymns she sang off key, how she called every remote control the clicker. She did. He missed being annoyed. Claire lifted the lamp. Its cord had become brittle, the outer coating split near the plug. She set it down carefully. From the hallway came the scrape of wood. Wade had opened a narrow linen closet. Towels, sheets, and blankets filled the shelves, some neatly folded and others slumped into dusty piles. On the inside of the door, Ellen had taped a handwritten list. Twin sets, blue thread full sets, red thread extra blankets, top, don't let Roy fold, fitted sheets. Travis read the last line aloud. She wrote that for the public. Roy had added beneath it in blue ink, witchcraft. The laugh that moved through them was quieter this time. Claire took a picture of the list. Wade noticed. Why? Because I wanted to. You going to photograph every note in the house? If I feel like it. I was just asking. She slid the phone into her pocket, and I was just answering. They found the bathroom leak without much trouble. A pipe joint had split beneath the sink, probably during a freeze. Wade crouched with his flashlight, while Claire held the cabinet door open. Water must have been turned on when it went, he said. Ran long enough to ruin the kitchen ceiling. Can it be capped? Sure. Whole system needs pressure tested before anybody turns it back on. How much? For the cap? Nothing. For everything? No idea. You always have an idea. Not one you're going to like. I didn't ask whether I'd like it. He sat back on his heels. Plumbing, electric, heat, roof repairs, mold removal. That's before you make it pretty. I don't care about pretty. You will after you've spent $10,000 making it ugly and functional. Claire almost told him she did not have $10,000. She did not have $1,000. After rent, the car insurance scheduled to draft on Monday, and the funeral dress she had bought with a credit card, she had $386 available. She stepped away from the cabinet. I'm still looking. Wade stood. I know. His voice was gentler, which somehow made the numbers feel worse. Downstairs, Evelyn waited while Claire opened the remaining shutters. The dining room resisted until they cut away a thick vine. In the pantry, one shutter opened directly against the sagging branch of a pear tree. The sunroom shutters had warped so badly they would need to be removed from their hinges. By noon, gray daylight reached nearly every room. The house looked neither dead nor alive. It looked interrupted. Travis found a broom in the mudroom and began sweeping without comment. Wade covered the kitchen opening with a plastic tarp from his truck. He measured the broken window, wrote the numbers on his palm, and left, before Claire could ask what he intended to do with them. She and Evelyn sat on the porch steps with 2 paper cups of coffee Travis brought from the gas station. He handed Claire a wrapped sandwich. Turkey. Unless she lied to me. Who? Woman at the register. You asked? I have trust issues. He took his own sandwich and went to help Wade load tools. He had spent the morning making fun of everything he touched, yet he had also swept 2 rooms and carried the fallen shutter under the porch where rain would not reach it. Claire watched him climb into Wade's truck. You love them, Evelyn said. That's a rude thing to say. It usually is. Wade thinks I'm helpless. Travis thinks everything is funny until it's expensive, accurate, and they knew about the will, probably the shape of it. Claire opened the sandwich. Did Dad? Did Roy what? Think I was helpless. Evelyn rested both hands around her coffee. The knuckles were enlarged with arthritis. Roy thought needing anybody was a kind of failure. He applied that rule to everyone, but hardest to himself. That's not an answer. No, it's context. Context is what people give you when the answer would hurt. Sometimes. Claire glanced at her. You're not very comforting for a nurse. I retired from comforting. My license only covers the truth now. The black notebook lay in Evelyn's lap. Claire had noticed it when they sat down, but she had waited for Evelyn to offer it. Now she wondered if that was another Mercer habit, pretending not to want something until wanting it became unbearable. I opened the shutters, Claire said. You opened most of them. The sunroom ones are fused to the house. Roy wasn't grading you. Could have fooled me. Evelyn handed her the notebook. It was a cheap composition book covered in black and white marbling. A strip of masking tape across the front read, Farmhouse, in Roy's handwriting, 2 words instead of 1. Claire opened to the first page. The entries were dated over the final 4 months of his life, but they were not a diary. They were fragments Evelyn had written while Roy talked. South Chimney repointed after lightning strike, 1997. Harold Boone did the work. Terrible singer. Good mason. Pear trees, moonglow, not Bartlett. Ellen ordered them from Kentucky. Dining room floor slopes because beams settled in 1952. Has not moved since, despite Wade claiming he can feel it. Claire turned the page. People's names appeared beside room descriptions. Nurses, harvest workers, a divorced cousin, a woman Roy identified only as Beth from Terre Haute, who stayed 10 days and made coconut cake. There were notes about which windows stuck, where pipes had frozen, and how Ellen placed rolled towels beneath the guest room doors because she believed drafts caused every known illness. Some entries ended in questions. Did Claire ever get the blue quilt? Who took piano bench? East room lamp still there? Claire swallowed. He dictated all this? Mostly, Evelyn said. Sometimes he wrote after I left. Why didn't he tell me himself? He tried talking himself into it. That isn't the same as trying. No? Claire flipped farther. Near the back, Roy's handwriting took over, shakier than the letter. House worked best when full. Beneath that, Evelyn had written, he said Ellen believed an empty room was an accusation. Claire closed the notebook. Across the lane, Wade's truck was gone. The farmyard looked wider without it. Beyond the equipment sheds, the winter fields rolled brown and flat toward the highway. The business her brothers had inherited occupied nearly everything she could see. Her 11 acres climbed behind the farmhouse, tangled with brush and old fruit trees. What would you do? Claire asked. With the house? Yes. I'd get 3 estimates, test for mold, and not confuse grief with a construction budget. That's annoyingly sensible. You asked a retired nurse, not a poet. Claire looked back through the open front door. Light crossed the hall and stopped at the bottom stair. Her phone buzzed. Denise had sent a message asking whether Claire could cover Sunday evening. Claire calculated the drive, the gas, the hours, the rent due in 9 days. Her life in Indianapolis had not paused because Roy died. It had only become less affordable. She typed, I can be there, then stared at the words. Evelyn stood, joints cracking softly. I'll drive you back to Roy's. Claire didn't move. I want to stay here tonight. Evelyn looked into the house. There's no heat. I have blankets, no water. The gas station has water. Mice. Travis removed one. That was not the entire population. Claire put the notebook inside her coat. One night, I want to hear the place before I decide anything. Evelyn studied her with open disapproval. Then she reached into her purse and produced a small brass bell. "What is that?" "I give it to patients who are about to ignore me." "Ring if you fall through a floor." "Will you hear it from your house?" "No, but it'll give you something to do while you wait." Claire took the bell. Evelyn walked toward her car, then stopped beside the pear tree. "Don't use the chimney," she called, "and the upstairs hall window doesn't latch. Prop the chair under it." "You remember that from 1986? "No, your father remembered." When Evelyn drove away, silence settled over the property. Claire stood alone on the porch, holding a bell, a notebook, and a phone with her supervisor's unanswered message glowing on the screen. Inside, something small moved behind the kitchen wall. "Don't get comfortable," she called. The scratching stopped. Claire looked at the open shutters, at the rooms receiving daylight for the first time in years, and deleted the words she had typed to Denise. The phone rang before Claire could put it away. Denise's name filled the screen. Claire watched it ring 4 times, then answered. "Hi. I was about to call somebody else," Denise said. "Can you do Sunday or not?" A gust pushed through the front hall, carrying the smell of wet leaves and old plaster. "I can't. You just texted that you could." "I didn't send it. I saw the dots. Then you saw me change my mind." Denise paused. In the background, a call bell chimed, over and over. "Are you still down there with your family?" "Sort of." "That sounds ominous." "My father left me a house." This produced a longer silence. A house? As opposed to what? A trailer, a timeshare. One of those sheds people put a mattress in and call minimalist. "It has 2 stories. "Well, look at you. It also has no electricity, no water, and a hole in the kitchen ceiling. There you are." Claire laughed despite herself. Denise lowered her voice. "How long are you staying?" "I don't know. I need to post the shift." "Post it." "All right. But Claire, if you need next week off too, tell me now." The reasonable request tightened something in Claire's chest. Golden Oaks had rearranged nothing for her. They had taken her off one shift, offered another, and continued ringing bells. That was not cruelty. It was simply a place where her absence could be covered by the next available person. "I'll be back for Tuesday," she said. "Okay. I'm sorry about your dad. Thank you." Claire ended the call and stood in the hallway until the screen went dark. She had not chosen the farmhouse. She had chosen not to drive through freezing rain for 8 hours of work. Those were different decisions, even if her body seemed relieved by both. She returned to Roy's ranch house for supplies. The door was unlocked. Wade was in the kitchen sorting papers into cardboard boxes labeled tax, equipment, and house. He looked up. "Thought Evelyn took you." She went home. "Where were you?" "At the farmhouse." "I know." "Where are you going now?" "Back to the farmhouse." Wade set down a stack of receipts. "For what?" "To sleep." His expression suggested she had announced plans to lick a tractor battery. "There's no heat, I heard. No working bathroom? I have a bucket." "You don't have a bucket. I came to get one." Wade rubbed his forehead. "Claire." "What?" He opened his mouth, closed it, then pointed toward the back door. "There are 5-gallon buckets in the garage. Take one that didn't have hydraulic fluid in it." That's the kind of brotherly concern I remember. "I'm serious." "So am I." She found 2 sleeping bags, a battery lantern, bottled water, and a canvas tool bag in the garage. When she returned, Wade had added a fire extinguisher to the pile. "You planning to burn the place down?" she asked. "Statistically, people who say they won't are the ones who need the extinguisher." He lifted the tool bag. "I'll take you over. I can drive myself." "I know." The answer surprised her into silence. They loaded her Honda. On the drive across the lane, its transmission made the same rising whine. Wade listened. "That's getting worse. I thought it might heal during the funeral. I'll look at it tomorrow. I can take it to a shop." "With what money?" The question landed harder because he asked it casually. Claire pulled up beside the farmhouse and put the car in park. "I didn't realize inheriting a house entitled, 'You to inspect my bank account.' It doesn't take an accountant. You've been wearing the same coat for 4 years. It's a good coat. It has a hole in the sleeve. Your shutter did that." "It's not my shutter." "No," she said. "It isn't?" Wade leaned back, catching the correction. They carried the supplies to the parlor. The temperature inside had already dropped with the sun. Wade walked through each downstairs room, checking windows and testing doors. He wedged an old towel under the front door. "You don't need to do that," Claire said. I'm aware. Then why are you? Because heat leaves through gaps. There is no heat. Body heat. Are you calling me drafty? He gave her a level look. You've been back 2 days, and I'm already tired. I've been tired since 2008. That almost earned another smile. He pointed his flashlight at the ceiling. Sleep in here, not under the stain. Keep your shoes beside you in case you have to get out fast. If you hear cracking, leave. What kind of cracking? The kind that makes you want to ask what kind of cracking. Helpful. His attention shifted to Roy's black notebook on the mantel. Claire had set it there while arranging the sleeping bags. What's in it? House notes. Anything about the business? You already asked that, and you didn't have the notebook then. No, nothing about the business. Wade nodded, but his eyes stayed on it. Did Dad tell you what he was leaving me? Claire asked. He said you'd get the house. When? Last fall. And you didn't think to mention it? It wasn't mine to mention. You mentioned every repair it needed. That's because you're about to sleep under one of them. Claire folded her arms. Did he tell you why? Wade looked toward the dark window. He said the house belonged with you. The words went through her so cleanly that she could not react at first. That's not what the letter said. I don't know what the letter said. You know what I mean. No, I don't. His voice sharpened. You keep talking like Travis and I sat around getting secret messages from Dad. He told me the business would stay between us and the farmhouse would go to you. That's it. You knew enough to make fun of it. I didn't make the coffin joke. You smiled. It was funny. Claire stared at him. It was a little funny, Wade said. She looked away before he could see the unwilling twitch at her mouth. He picked up the empty coffee cup from the windowsill. Call me if you need anything. You're across the lane. I can yell. With these walls, nobody'll hear you. Then how will my phone work? Wade sighed, carried the trash outside, and drove away. Darkness in the farmhouse was unlike darkness in Claire's basement studio. There, streetlights leaked through the high window, and pipes thudded behind the walls. Here, the blackness felt complete even with the shutters open. The battery lantern created a small yellow island around her sleeping bag. Claire ate crackers and cheese for supper, sitting on the covered sofa with Ellen's mixing bowl in her lap because she had found no clean plate. At 9, her landlord called. Your rent's due next Friday, Mr. Packard said. I know, because I got a message you might be out of town. Who told you that? You did. Last month. You said your father was ill. Claire pinched the bridge of her nose. I'll pay the rent, and the wet towels need to stay off the floor. That encourages mildew. The wall encourages mildew. I had somebody inspect that. You had your cousin look at it from the doorway. He does maintenance. He sells used appliances. He also does maintenance. Something scratched behind the wall. Mr. Packard heard it. What's that? One of my new tenants. I don't allow pets. I'm not at the apartment. She could almost hear him recalculating his authority. Well, rent's still Friday. When the call ended, Claire lay back in the sleeping bag, fully dressed. A branch scraped the siding. The refrigerator, unplugged for years, made a soft settling sound. Somewhere above her, the loose hall window knocked twice. She remembered Evelyn's warning. The chair beneath the window. Claire carried the lantern upstairs. The hall seemed longer at night. Wind pushed the east window inward, then released it with another wooden knock. She dragged Ellen's chair from the bedroom and wedged it beneath the sash. The pink lamp sat where she had left it. On her way out, she stopped. The room no longer held Ellen's sickbed smell, yet Claire's body supplied it anyway. Lavender lotion, medicine, the metallic scent of canned oxygen. She sat on the bare mattress. Near the end, Ellen had apologized every time Claire helped her stand. Stop saying sorry, Claire had told her once. I'll say whatever I please, then say thank you. Ellen had looked at her for a long moment. Thank you. Claire had wanted that to be enough. After Ellen died, Roy packed Claire's textbooks into a box and set them beside the front door. He never asked whether she planned to return to college. He only said, "You'd better make a decision before the decision gets made for you." She had mistaken that for disappointment. Maybe it had been fear. Maybe it had been both. Back in the parlor, Claire opened the notebook again. Roy's entries grew shorter near the end. Some were only names. Ruth Bell, pantry cabinets, porch rail. Evelyn Shaw, East Room, 5 weeks, never returned pink towels. Mateo Alvarez, South Orchard, ask about pruning. Beside Mateo's name, Roy had drawn an uneven square around one sentence. Trees are alive if he says they are. Claire copied the names into her phone. The cold eventually drove her deeper into the sleeping bag. She woke before dawn with a stiff neck and one numb foot. Frost feathered the inside edges of the parlor windows. A truck door slammed outside. Claire reached for the brass bell before remembering how useless it was. Travis came through the front door, carrying a red plastic gasoline can. She sat up. "Please don't set the house on fire. Morning to you, too." "What's that for?" "Generator." "What generator?" He jerked his thumb toward the porch, "The one I brought." A compact generator sat beside the steps, along with an electric heater and an orange extension cord. Claire climbed out of the sleeping bag. "Wade sent you?" "No." "Did Evelyn?" "I can perform a kind act without supervision. I've never seen evidence." "Exactly. It's overdue." He carried the equipment around to the side yard, far enough from the house to vent safely, and had the heater humming within 15 minutes. Warm air moved across Claire's hands. Travis rubbed his palms together. "I'm taking the cabinet doors." Claire looked up. "What? The blue knob ones in the kitchen? For my mudroom?" "No. They're going to rot in here. Then I'll repair them." "With what?" "The same thing you're using to remodel your mudroom. Time and poor judgment." His smile thinned. "I brought you heat." "You brought me heat because you thought it bought the cabinets. I was going to help whether you said yes or not. Then help." Travis stared at her. Claire stepped between him and the kitchen. "But nothing leaves this house." The heater clicked behind them. Its fan continued blowing, warm and steady. Travis looked past her toward the blue glass knobs, then back at her face. "You don't even know if you're keeping the place." "No," Claire said, "but I know you're not taking it apart while I decide." Travis gave the kitchen one last look. "You're going to have to pull those cabinets anyway. Then I'll pull them. You don't know how. I know how doors work. Cabinets aren't doors. They have doors. That doesn't make them doors." Claire pointed toward the front hall. "Are you leaving?" "I'm deciding whether to." "Decide outside." For an instant, he looked so much like Roy that Claire's anger faltered. It was in the set of his jaw, the offended disbelief that another person might control the space around him. Then Travis zipped his coat. "The generator needs gas every 6 hours. Check the oil before you start it. Heater can't be on the extension cord with anything else." "I know. You don't. I can read. People who can read still burn things down." Wade said the same thing. "Wade says it because he's afraid of fire. I say it because I've met you." He walked out, shutting the door hard enough to rattle the lace curtain. Claire waited for the generator to stop. It kept running. Through the window, she watched Travis cross the lane with the empty gasoline can swinging at his side. His shoulders were stiff. He did not look back. The heater warmed only the parlor, but that small square of comfort changed Claire's sense of what was possible. She peeled off her coat, swept dust from the piano bench, and made a list in Roy's notebook only because it was the paper within reach. Below that, she wrote money, then underlined it twice. Her phone rang before she could add car. "Did you survive?" Evelyn asked. The house was gracious enough not to collapse. "Any trouble breathing?" "Only when my landlord called. I mean mold, I know. Headache, coughing, no. You sound congested. I'm standing in 100 years of dust." "Open the windows. It's 28 degrees. Then be congested." Claire smiled. "Do you have Ruth Bell's number?" Evelyn went quiet. "She's in Dad's notebook. I know where she is. I want somebody to look at the woodwork. Wade keeps telling me everything is rotten. Wade thinks in categories. Sound, rotten, useful, in the way. Which am I? Depends whether he needs to park something." Claire sat on the piano bench. "Will Ruth talk to me?" "She'll talk. That's not the problem." "What's the problem?" "She and your father stopped speaking." "Why?" "Ask her. That seems like the kind of question where advance warning would be polite." "Ruth doesn't value polite. Write this down." Ruth answered on the 7th ring. "Yes, Ms. Bell? This is Claire Mercer. I know who you are." Claire waited. The line remained open. "I inherited the farmhouse. I heard. I found your name in Dad's notebook. He wrote that you did the pantry cabinets and the porch rail." "I did. I wondered if you'd be willing to come look at some damage." "No." The answer was so clean that Claire almost thanked her out of habit. "Can I ask why?" "Your father still owes me $32. Claire blinked. "For what?" "Cedar." "When?" "1998. I can pay you. It's not your debt. Then why does it matter? Because he said the cedar was pine and refused to pay cedar prices. Claire looked toward the kitchen. Was it cedar? Of course it was cedar. What if I give you $32 to look at the house, and we call it my expense instead of his debt? Ruth considered this. I charge 40 an hour now. I don't have 40. Then why are you trying to fix a farmhouse? It was not mockery. That made it worse. I haven't decided to fix it, Claire said. I'm trying to find out whether I can. Those are different things. I know. Another pause. You there now? Ruth asked. Yes, I'll come after lunch. Don't pay me. Why? I haven't seen my pantry cabinets in 15 years. The line went dead. Ruth Bell arrived in a white work van with rust over the wheel wells and Bell woodworking painted on the side. She was in her early 60s, tall and narrow, with gray hair cut close around her ears. A carpenter's pencil sat above one ear. She did not shake Claire's hand. She walked directly to the porch rail, gripped it, and leaned her weight outward. Loose at the third post, she said. Wade thought it was. Wade thinks the thermometer is cold when it gives him bad news. You know him? I know all of you. Some better than I wanted. Inside, Ruth stopped at the kitchen cabinets. She touched the blue glass knobs with the back of one finger, then opened each door and inspected the hinges. Your brother tried to buy these from me last year, she said. Travis offered $200 for the whole run. Did Dad agree? Roy told him to go steal somebody else's kitchen. Claire rested a hand on the counter. That did not match the man who had let the ceiling cave in. Yet it did. Roy could neglect a thing for years and still refuse to let anyone else touch it. Ruth pointed to the cabinet beneath the sink. That box has water damage. Other three are fine. Travis said they'd have to come out. Travis talks with great confidence for a man who once installed a closet rod with roofing nails. Claire laughed. Can they be repaired? Everything can be repaired. Question is whether it should be. That's what Wade said. Then he accidentally told the truth. Ruth toured the first floor with a screwdriver, a small hammer, and a device she pressed against the walls to measure moisture. She tapped baseboards, stabbed at suspicious spots, and muttered numbers Claire did not understand. In the dining room, Ruth stood with both feet planted and looked toward the ceiling. Beam under this floor settled. In 1952. Ruth glanced at her. Roy's notebook? Yes. He wrote down repairs, but not where he put the screwdriver. Did you really stop talking over $32? No. Claire waited. Ruth crouched by the window trim. We stopped talking because after Ellen got sick, Roy asked me to build a ramp. Then he canceled it because he said she wasn't going outside anymore. She could have, I know. He might not have had the money. He had the money. The screwdriver disappeared into a soft section beneath the sill. Ruth pulled it out and rubbed rotten wood from the tip. He couldn't bear to build something that admitted she wouldn't get better, she said. I told him cowardice was expensive. He told me to get off his property. And the $32? That part's funny. Claire studied her face. You liked him. I occasionally tolerated him with enthusiasm. In the parlor, Ruth inspected the shutter that had torn loose. These are tulip poplar. Ellen insisted on making them functional. Most people would have nailed fake ones to the siding. Can it be rehung? Not until the frame is repaired. How much? Ruth took the pencil from behind her ear and wrote on a scrap of cardboard. If you do removal and sanding, $200 in materials, maybe less. Claire tried not to react. Ruth noticed anyway. That number scare you? Every number scares me. Good. Fear keeps receipts. She stepped into the front hall. House needs an electrician before you run power. Plumber before water. Mold test where the kitchen leaked. Don't let anybody sell you a whole house treatment based on one dark stain. Wade thinks it'll cost $10,000 to make it ugly and functional. Wade's an optimist. Claire's stomach dropped. Ruth tilted her head toward the stairs. Structure isn't the problem. Roof line's straight. Foundation's old limestone. But I didn't see new movement. Your trouble is, every system has been sitting. So, it's bad. It's work. That's not an answer. It's the only honest answer anybody can give you in one afternoon. Ruth packed her tools, then paused at the pantry door. Ellen's labeling note remained taped inside, the edges curled. She fed me at this table when I was getting divorced, Ruth said. 3 nights a week for most of a winter. Claire hadn't known Ruth had stayed too. Was that before the argument? Long before. Why didn't you come back after Mom died? Because grief doesn't make stubborn people easier to visit. Outside, Ruth tore the cardboard in half and handed Claire the piece with 3 names written beneath her estimates. Electrician, plumber, mold inspector. Tell them I sent you. They won't work free, but they'll tell you the truth. Why are you helping me? Ruth opened her van door. I'm helping the cabinets. Claire watched her drive away. The generator coughed and stopped. She checked the fuel gauge. Empty. The gasoline can Travis had brought was still gone. Claire pulled on her coat and walked across the lane toward the machine shed. The side door was open. Inside, Wade stood on a ladder examining the belts on a green combine while Travis sat at a desk with a laptop and a stack of invoices. They stopped talking when Claire entered. What? She said. Nothing, Wade replied too quickly. Travis closed the laptop. Generator run out? Yes. Cans by the pump. Claire saw it near the far wall. Wade climbed down. How long are you planning to use it? Until I don't need it. Gas isn't free. I know. We've got a commercial account. Doesn't mean it doesn't cost anything. I said I know. Travis leaned back in the chair. You could take the heater to Dad's house. She can stay at Dad's house, Wade said. Claire picked up the can. I'm staying where I want. Wade wiped his hands on a rag. Then you need a plan beyond pouring diesel money into a gasoline generator. I had someone look at the house. Who? Ruth Bell. Both brothers stared. Travis sat forward. Dad hated Ruth Bell. Apparently not enough to leave her out of his notebook. What did she say? Wade asked. That the houses work. That's it? And the structure looks sound. Wade's eyes narrowed slightly. She checked the foundation? Yes. She go under the crawl space? No. Then she didn't check the foundation. Claire lifted the can. Can I have gas or not? Travis rose, took it from her, and carried it to the pump. I'll fill it. While the fuel ran, Claire noticed the invoices on the desk. Several had red stamps across the top. Past due. Wade stepped between her and the papers. It was smooth enough to be deliberate. Claire looked at him. Problem? Winter cash flow. Meaning? Meaning farming pays when farming pays. It's not farming, it's custom harvesting. Thank you, Claire. I almost forgot what business I own. The word own hung there. Travis shut off the pump. Everybody relax. I am relaxed, Wade said. No one has ever believed you when you say that. Travis handed Claire the can. There's an old oil radiator in Dad's garage. Safer than the little heater. Can the generator handle it? If nothing else is plugged in. Thank you. Wade picked up the invoices and squared their edges against the desk. You going back to Indianapolis? Tuesday. For good? Claire looked through the open shed door at the farmhouse. In daylight, the open shutters made it appear startled. I don't know yet. Wade nodded toward the gas can. Figure it out before this gets expensive. It's already expensive. I mean, for everybody. Claire met his eyes. The generator is yours. The decision isn't. She carried the fuel back across the lane, aware of both brothers watching her. At the porch, her phone buzzed with a message from Mr. Packard. Plumber needs access to your apartment Monday. Be present or we enter. Below it, another message waited from Denise. Tuesday shift cut, sorry. Claire stood between the house she could barely afford to enter and the life that had started removing her without waiting for a decision. Then she set down the gasoline, called the first mold inspector on Ruth's list, and asked what it cost to test one kitchen. One kitchen, $225, the inspector said. More if I need to open walls. Claire looked at the dark stain above the sink. How do you know whether you need to? I look at it. And looking costs $225. Driving out costs $75. Knowing where to look costs the rest. His name was Ed Fossey. He sounded neither apologetic nor eager, which made Claire trust him more than she wanted to. How soon can you come? Thursday. I have to be in Indianapolis Tuesday. That's not Thursday. No, it isn't. Ed waited. Claire opened her banking app. The number had not improved since the last time she checked it. Thursday's fine. She scheduled the inspection, then called the electrician. He could come Friday. The plumber said maybe Friday, maybe Monday, depending on whether a restaurant in town stopped backing up into itself. By then, Claire had spent imaginary money 3 times over. She poured gasoline into the generator and restarted it. As the engine caught, the porch light flickered. Claire froze. The porch light came on again. weak and yellow, then went out. She hurried inside. The electric heater was dark. So was the battery lantern because batteries had nothing to do with generators and panic made people stupid. Outside, the orange extension cord ran from the generator through the parlor window. Nothing connected it to the house wiring. The porch light blinked once more. Claire unplugged the heater and ran across the lane. Wade was still in the machine shed. The farmhouse has power. No, it doesn't. The porch light came on. He dropped the wrench in his hand. Did you plug the generator into an outlet? I plugged the heater into the extension cord like Travis showed me. Did he plug anything else in? No. Wade was already walking. Killed the generator. I did. You said you restarted it. I unplugged the heater. That isn't killing it. They crossed the lane at a near jog. Wade shut off the machine, then went to the meter box mounted on the side of the house. He opened it and stared. What? Meter's gone. Is that bad? It means power can't come through the utility line. Then why did the light come on? He followed a thin black wire along the siding. It disappeared through a drilled hole near the porch roof. Solar trickle charger, he said. Claire looked up. A small panel lay almost flat above the porch, hidden beneath dead leaves. For one light, Dad probably put it up, so the place looked occupied. He shuttered every window and added a porch light. Dad's logic had multiple exits. Wade removed the leaves, batteries dying. Generator vibration probably shook the connection. Claire leaned against the porch post. I thought I'd electrocuted the house. You can't electrocute a house. I could be the first. He looked toward the generator. Travis should have shown you how to shut it down. He did. I forgot. That's why you shouldn't be staying here. No, that's why you should label the switch. Wade stared at her, then took a marker from his pocket and wrote off with an arrow on the casing. There, he said, civilization advances. Before leaving, he checked the oil and repositioned the generator farther from the window. He did not mention the cabinets or the cost of gas. Claire did not thank him, though the word followed her inside. She spent the next day in Indianapolis while the plumber entered her basement apartment. Mr. Packard stood in the narrow hall with his arms folded, as if Claire had summoned the water into the wall. The plumber removed a section of baseboard, pressed 2 fingers into the drywall, and said, "This has been wet a while." Mr. Packard's face tightened. "She keeps plants." "One plant," Claire said. "It's plastic." The plumber looked at the fake fern on her crate bookshelf. "Could still be overwatered," Claire added. He laughed. Mr. Packard did not. A pipe had been leaking inside the wall, slowly enough to soak the insulation, but not enough to show until winter. The plumber said he needed to open a section behind Claire's bed. Mr. Packard said repairs might take a week. "Where am I supposed to sleep?" Claire asked. "You said you inherited a house." "A house 4 hours away." "That's still a house." She looked at him. "Are you offering to waive rent while the apartment isn't usable?" "I didn't say it wasn't usable. The plumber wants to remove the wall beside my bed." "You can move the bed." "Where?" Mr. Packard looked around the single room, as if another wing might appear. "Temporarily." The absurdity settled Claire more than anger would have. "How much notice do I owe you?" His arms loosened. "You're leaving?" "How much?" 30 days. My lease is month to month. 30 days in writing. Claire took a sheet of notebook paper from the table and wrote the date. He watched her. "You can't use the plumbing issue to avoid the rent. I'm not avoiding anything. I'm leaving. You'll still owe through next month. Then fix the wall before you show it." She signed the paper, handed it to him, and immediately wondered whether she had made the stupidest decision of her life. Denise confirmed that possibility at Golden Oaks. "You gave notice on your apartment before knowing whether the farmhouse has mold?" she asked. They stood beside the linen cart while a dryer thumped behind them. "The inspection's Thursday. And if it has mold, I'll live in my car." "The car that makes that sound? You've noticed?" "Residents have noticed." Claire stacked towels. "I couldn't keep paying $800 for a wet basement. You could find another apartment, with first month, deposit, application fee, and stable proof of income." Denise winced. "That wasn't aimed entirely at you," Claire said. "Only the stable income part. Mostly?" Denise folded a washcloth into a precise square. "I can keep you on call from 4 hours away. You worked every open weekend for 2 years. If you come back, I'll find something." It was kinder than Claire expected, and not enough to build a life on. "Thank you," she said. "You're welcome." Also, this is a terrible plan, I know. You don't have to sound so relieved about it. Claire packed that night. Most of her belongings fit into the Honda, which was satisfying until she understood what it meant. Clothes, books, the fake fern, 2 lamps, kitchen utensils, 1 box of textbooks she had never sold, and the blue quilt Roy had asked about in his notebook. She found it in the bottom of a plastic tub. Ellen had pieced the quilt from old work shirts, navy, gray, and squares of yellow plaid. Claire had taken it to college, then stored it because one seam had opened. She held it against her face and smelled only detergent. The car's transmission protested all the way south. 15 miles from the farm, the engine raced without gaining speed. Claire eased onto the shoulder. Traffic passed in gusts that rocked the loaded Honda. She called Wade. It went to voicemail. She called Travis. Mercer Mortuary, he answered. My car died. Ah. Have you tried grieving near it? I'm on Route 37 by the old limestone place. Hazards on? Yes. You warm? Mostly furious. Good. I'll be there in 20. Travis arrived in 34 minutes, driving Roy's Ford. Claire had not seen the truck since the will. Clean red paint, cream roof, polished chrome. Roy had restored it over 7 winters and refused to let anyone eat inside. Travis stepped out holding a bag of barbecue chips. Claire stared at it. Dad can see you. He's dead, not a satellite. You're getting grease on the steering wheel. Wade says the truck is jointly owned, which means half the grease is legally mine. He examined the Honda, had Claire start it, then listened with his head tilted. Transmission. Wade already diagnosed it by insult. He's gifted. Can you fix it? No. How much? Depends how attached you are to forward motion. Claire shut off the engine. Travis looked through the rear window at the boxes stacked to the ceiling. His expression changed. You moved out. I gave notice. Because of the house? Because of the wall, and the rent, and the shifts. So yes, I'm trying it. He removed his cap and scratched the flattened hair beneath it. Wade's going to lose his mind. Wade inherited a business, I inherited a house. I'm moving into mine. Your house currently uses a bucket, only temporarily. Most bucket users say that. He called for a tow, then transferred Claire's boxes into the Ford. He did not joke while moving them. He carried the blue quilt carefully, as though he recognized it. At the farmhouse, a business card had been wedged in the front door. On the back, in blue ink, someone had written, Roy said you might call about the trees. Don't cut anything yet. Travis read it over Claire's shoulder. Mateo's still mad about the pears? I don't know about the pears. Dad told him they were dying. Mateo told Dad he was dying. That sounds productive. They yelled for an hour and drank beer afterward. Claire looked toward the slope behind the house. Bare branches tangled against the evening sky, more than she had realized from the porch. Her phone buzzed with the tow truck estimate. She closed her eyes. How bad? Travis asked. Bad enough that I might become a pedestrian. Where are you going to walk? I haven't chosen. He took the estimate, whistled, and gave it back. I can drive you to the mold inspection, he said. You don't have to. Correct. The same answer Wade had given. Travis picked up a box marked books and carried it inside. The generator started behind the house. A minute later, the parlor heater began to hum. Claire unfolded the blue quilt over her sleeping bag and found the open seam near one corner. It was longer now, threads hanging loose from years of storage. On the mantel, Roy's notebook waited beneath the battery lantern. She turned to the entry about Mateo. Trees are alive if he says they are. Underneath, in different ink, Roy had added, Claire used to know how to listen when something needed work. She traced the sentence once, then threaded one of Ellen's sewing needles and began repairing the quilt. The needle was still in Claire's hand when someone knocked on the front door. She had fallen asleep sitting against the sofa, the blue quilt bunched in her lap. Pale morning light reached through the open shutters. The generator had run out sometime before dawn, and the parlor was cold enough that her breath showed. The knock came again. Claire Mercer? She pushed herself upright. Every joint objected. The man on the porch wore a brown canvas jacket and carried a pruning saw in a leather sheath. He was somewhere in his 50s, with silver threaded through black hair and deep lines around his mouth. Mateo? He glanced at the business card still in her hand. Good detective work. I meant to call. I meant to wait. Which one of us failed worse? He considered. You. I was already driving by. Claire opened the door wider. Do you want coffee? Do you have coffee? No. Then I don't want it. She liked him immediately. Mateo stamped mud from his boots but did not enter. His attention had gone past the house, toward the slope. Roy let those trees go 3 years, he said. He said they were alive if you said they were. That sounds like him. Assign me the blame before he dies. He wrote it down. Of course he did. Claire pulled on her boots and coat. The ground behind the farmhouse rose sharply, covered with wet grass, blackberry canes, and rows of old trees she had mistaken for random growth. Rusted wire fencing sagged between posts. Mateo walked slowly, stopping to scrape bark with his thumbnail or study the angle of a branch. What kind are they? Claire asked. Apples here, pears lower down, 2 sour cherry trees by the shed. Are they alive? Most. Her relief surprised her. Can they produce? They already produce. Birds and deer eat it before you notice. I mean, enough to sell. Mateo gave her a sidelong look. Everybody asks whether an old tree can make money before asking what it needs. What does it need? Pruning, clearing, patience, less competition around the roots. Those pears may have fire blight. Is that fixable? Sometimes. That's the official word around here. It's an honest word. He stopped beneath the largest pear tree, the one that pressed against the pantry shutter. Its trunk split low into 3 heavy leaders. A hollow had formed where water collected between them. This one should have been pruned 15 years ago. Dad thought it was dying. Roy thought anything he stopped understanding was dying. Mateo drew the pruning saw but did not cut. He pointed to a narrow strip of healthy tissue curling around the hollow. Tree keeps closing around the damage. Slow work. Doesn't look impressive. Claire touched the bark. It was colder than she expected. Can you teach me? Mateo slid the saw back into its sheath. I can tell you what to cut. Teaching you not to cut too much takes longer. I'm not going anywhere. She said it before deciding whether it was true. Mateo heard the uncertainty. His eyes moved to the farmhouse, then to the loaded Ford parked beside it. I need help in the orchard office, he said. 3 mornings a week. My bookkeeper had shoulder surgery and decided recovery feels better in Arizona. What kind of help? Invoices, payroll entries, calls from people who believe ordering peaches means peaches exist whenever they want. I've never done payroll. Can you use a computer? Yes. Can you tell when somebody is lying about a late invoice? I worked in assisted living. He nodded as if that answered everything. $14 an hour, not charity. If you're bad, I'll fire you. Warm office? Mostly. Working bathroom? Usually. When do I start? After your mold man. Ruth called me. Ruth told you? Ruth tells everybody. Privacy is for people she doesn't find interesting. Ed Fossey arrived an hour later in a white pickup with a magnetic sign on the door. Travis pulled in behind him, leaned from the Ford's window and called, You needed a ride. The inspection is here. I knew that. You forgot. I adapted. Ed wore disposable coveralls and carried 3 cases of equipment. He looked at Travis. You the owner? No, Claire said. Travis pointed at her. She enjoys saying that. Ed examined the kitchen stain, took air samples, and pressed a moisture meter against the cabinets and ceiling joists. He cut a small square from the wet drywall behind the sink. Claire watched the blade enter the wall as if he were operating on a relative. Localized growth, Ed said, likely from the pipe break. Wood's dry now? That's good. Better than wet. Do I need the whole house treatment? He glanced at her. Who sold you that? No one. Ruth warned me. Ruth scares away half my business. Because she's wrong? Because half my business is people who need to hear they don't need me. He showed Claire the dark growth on the back of the drywall. Wait for the lab, but I'd expect common mold. Remove affected drywall and insulation. Clean the framing, dry it, seal after it tests clean. Can I do that? With proper protection and containment. Not if you plan to wave a shop vacuum around and call it science. How much if you do it? Ed gave her a number that made her grip the counter. Travis whistled. For bleach? No bleach, Ed said. For not bleach? Claire ignored him. What if I remove the cabinets myself? Lower labor. You'll need the damaged one out anyway. Travis crossed his arms. Told you? 1 cabinet, Claire said. Not all of them. Door still has to come off. And then go back on. Ed looked between them. I charge extra for family. The mold sample would take 2 days. Ed left Claire with a written list of safety requirements and a warning not to sleep near the kitchen until the affected area was sealed from the rest of the house. It already has a tarp, Travis said. Ed examined Wade's work, better than most. Travis appeared disappointed. After he left, Claire rode with Travis to Southridge Orchard. The Ford pulled slightly left. She said nothing until Travis corrected the wheel for the third time. Culvert, she said. Ancient history. In July. Let the dead rest. Southridge occupied a broad valley 6 miles from the farm. Rows of bare apple trees ran along the hillsides. The packing barn was quiet for winter, but inside the office 2 phones rang beside towers of paper. Mateo introduced Claire to Nadine Price, his bookkeeper, who was not yet in Arizona and did not appear to believe anyone else deserved to be. Nadine wore a purple wrist brace and peered at Claire over red glasses. You know, QuickBooks, enough to be dangerous. Everybody says that like danger is charming. I can learn. Learning is what people promise right before they delete a vendor. Mateo handed Claire a stack of unpaid invoices. Put these in date order, Nadine frowned. That's your evaluation? No, I want them in date order. Claire spent 3 hours sorting, entering, and correcting customer addresses. 2 checks had been applied to the wrong accounts. A restaurant had been charged twice for cider. Nadine watched from her desk, occasionally making a noise that could mean approval or indigestion. At noon, Mateo set a turkey sandwich beside Claire. Woman at the gas station, swear this is turkey? Claire asked. He stared at her. Family joke. Family jokes are usually warnings. When Claire finished, Nadine reviewed every entry. You capitalized notes unnecessarily, she said. I can stop. You found the cider duplication. It was in 2 piles. It has been in 2 piles since October. Mateo stood in the doorway. She fired? Not today. He pointed toward a clipboard beside the desk. Write your hours. Claire picked up the pen. Can part of my pay go toward labor? What labor? Clearing around the trees, maybe hauling damaged plaster. Mateo shook his head. Work gets wages. Favors get traded separately. Mixing them makes people resentful. Then do you need anything at the farmhouse? A functioning kitchen. I'm working on it, so am I. Travis had left the Ford for her. A note on the steering wheel read, Return with gas, not tears. Claire drove to Uvelin's house after work. The small brick bungalow had wine chimes on every corner, and not one of them seemed tuned to the same key. Evelyn opened the door before Claire knocked. You smell like mold. The inspector had a suit. He only brought one? He was selfish. Inside, the heat was almost painful. Claire stood beside a radiator while Evelyn poured soup into 2 bowls. You got the orchard job, Evelyn said. Ruth tell you. Mateo, does anyone in this county keep their own information? Only the guilty. They ate at a round table crowded with mail, pill bottles, and quilting scraps. Claire described the estimates she still needed, the damaged cabinet, and the possibility that her car repair would cost more than the car was worth. Evelyn listened without interrupting. I can make one downstairs room safe, Claire said. Maybe 2. Shut off everything else. New circuit, 1 working sink, 1 bathroom. For yourself? To start. And then? Claire broke a cracker into her soup. I don't know. Evelyn tapped her spoon against the bowl. County Hospital has 3 traveling nurses coming next month. Claire looked up. They're putting 1 at the Highway Motel. The other 2 are commuting from Louisville until they find something. The farmhouse isn't ready for renters. I didn't say it was. You said it with your eyebrows. My eyebrows are retired. They go where they please. Claire thought of the upstairs bedrooms, the labeled linen closet, the sentence on the doorframe. Came empty. Left fed. I'm not turning into mom, she said. Evelyn's expression changed. No one asked you to. She gave away rooms, meals, time. Dad took it for granted. Everybody did. I paid rent. How much? $20 a week. In 1986? It was low even then. You see? Evelyn folded her napkin. Your mother's mistake wasn't opening the door. It was pretending an open door cost nothing. Claire sat back. You don't owe strangers shelter, Evelyn said. You also don't have to keep a 9-room house warm for 1 person. I can't keep 1 room warm. Then that's the first problem. Evelyn brought out a sewing tin and placed it on the table. Your stitch length is terrible. You saw the quilt? Roy told me the seam was open. Roy knew? He noticed more than he admitted. Claire looked at the spools of thread, arranged by color. How much would a hospital worker pay for a room? She asked. Evelyn did not smile. Enough to expect hot water, she said. Claire took the gray thread from the tin. Then, I'd better call the plumber again. The plumber returned Claire's call while she was still at Evelyn's table. I can give you one working bathroom and the kitchen sink, he said. Not both upstairs bathrooms, not the laundry, not every line in that house. How much? He gave her a range. Claire wrote the high number on Evelyn's napkin. That includes materials, unless I find something entertaining. I don't want entertaining. Nobody does. Old houses insist. The electrician came Friday morning and said nearly the same thing. The original cloth-covered wiring could remain untouched only if it remained unused. He could install a new panel, one safe circuit for the parlor and downstairs bedroom, another for the kitchen, and grounded service for a water heater. What about upstairs? Claire asked. Dark builds character. What about renting a room? Rent a flashlight. He looked serious until one corner of his beard moved. Claire wrote his estimate beneath the plumber's. With the mold work, permits, materials, and the Honda sitting at a transmission shop, making a small portion of the farmhouse safe would consume almost everything she could earn in 4 months. Assuming nothing entertaining happened, the mold report came back with no surprises. Ed returned to set up containment, then agreed to reduce his labor if Claire removed the damaged cabinet and plaster under his supervision. Ruth arrived with pry bars before he finished explaining. You don't pull from the face, she told Claire. You find the fasteners. Travis stood in the kitchen doorway drinking coffee. I told her the cabinet had to come out. Ruth did not turn around. Do you want a certificate? I might. I can make one. It'll say you were right once and ruined it by staying. Claire knelt beside the sink cabinet, trying to see where it met the wall. Can everyone insult Travis after I learn how not to destroy this? No, Ruth and Travis said together. They removed the blue glass knobs first. Claire wrapped them in a dish towel and placed them inside Ellen's yellow bowl. Travis watched closely. Those would look good in my mudroom. They look good in my bowl. They don't function in a bowl. They function as objects you can't take. Ruth handed Claire a drill. Back screws. Slow. The cabinet resisted because Roy had added nails after the screws, then glue after the nails, a construction method Ruth described as the panic of a man who distrusts geometry. By midday, they eased the box away from the wall intact. Dark growth marked the plaster behind it, but the studs remained solid. Ed sealed the kitchen, ran an air scrubber, and supervised the demolition. Claire wore a respirator, gloves, and coveralls that made every movement loud. She removed damp insulation by hand and passed sealed bags through the containment flap. Work shrank the house to simple questions. Where was the next screw? Could this board hold weight? What had to come out, and what deserved to remain? Those questions were easier than whether Roy had loved her well enough, or whether love that arrived after death counted as love at all. At the end of the second day, Claire sat on the porch with aching shoulders. White dust striped her hairline. Ruth handed her a bottle of water. You're using your back. I only have one body. Then stop spending it like you have credit. Claire drank. Did Mom work on the house? Every inch. I remember painting baseboards. You painted one baseboard and complained for 6 hours. I was 14. You were theatrical. Travis says I'm difficult. Travis once refused to speak to a circular saw because it embarrassed him. Claire glanced through the open door. He had stayed all afternoon, carrying demolition bags and claiming he was only protecting the cabinets. Why did he help? Ruth sat beside her. Ask him. He'll make a joke, then listen for what the joke is sitting on. Across the lane, Wade backed a grain truck from the machine shed. He stopped when he saw them and walked over. Ed, clear the mold? Not yet, Claire said. He tests after cleaning. Wade looked at the plastic barrier across the kitchen. You paying for all this? Ed has a strict policy against accepting charm. I'm serious. So am I. I can cover part of it. The offer was careful, almost reluctant. Claire capped the water bottle. As a loan? Wade's gaze moved toward Ruth, who made no effort to pretend she was not listening. As family, he said. What would you want? Nothing. You wanted the flooring. I said it could be salvaged if you demolished. You wanted the limestone steps. Travis wanted the steps. Travis wanted everything with screws. Wade lowered his voice. You don't have to turn every conversation into a negotiation. That's easy to say when you have the money. His face hardened. You think because Dad left us the business, we have a safe full of cash? I saw the invoices. Wade went still. Ruth stood. I'm going to inspect a tree. There were no trees within 10 feet of the porch, but she walked away anyway. Claire wished she could call the words back. Not because they were untrue, but because she had looked at papers Wade had tried to hide. He took one step closer. You went through our desk? No. They were out. They're business records. I didn't touch them. You read them. I saw red stamps. Congratulations. You've discovered bills. I wasn't judging you. You've been judging us since the will. Claire stood, shoulders protesting. You laughed at my house, and since then, I've kept you from freezing in it. Travis brought the generator from our shed with our fuel. There it is. What? The price. Wade looked genuinely confused. I didn't ask for anything. You offered money right after reminding me I cost you money. I am trying to help, and I'm trying to know what help means before I take it. For a moment, only the air scrubber could be heard through the wall. Wade rubbed his thumb against his palm. Dad left a mess. Here? Everywhere. The word carried more than he intended. Claire softened despite herself. How bad? We're fine. That isn't what you just said. It's seasonal. 2 customers haven't paid. Repairs were higher last year. Is Travis helping? Travis believes optimism is a financial strategy. From inside the house, Travis called, I can hear you. Wade closed his eyes briefly. We're fine. Claire knew the conversation was over. I can't take money from you, she said, because I laughed, because I don't know whether you can afford it. That wounded him more. He looked toward the machine shed. Get your own gas after this week. Then he walked away. Travis emerged carrying the removed cabinet door. Put that down, Claire said. I'm moving it out of Ed's way. Where? Parlor. Why? Because that's where your cabinet hospital is. He set it beside the covered sofa, blue knob still removed. You heard us, Claire said. The farmhouse has the acoustic privacy of a soup can. Are you and Wade in trouble? Everybody with equipment is in trouble. Equipment is metal shaped like debt. That sounds serious. It sounds funny. Different category. She waited. Travis ran a thumb over the cabinet's worn paint. Wade doesn't know how to say he's scared without telling somebody else what to do. And you? I make certificates. He left before she could ask more. Claire found a used water heater online and paid the plumber to inspect it before purchase. The electrician split his work into 2 stages. Mateo gave her extra hours entering spring orders, and Nadine taught her payroll while criticizing the way she held a stapler. At the farmhouse, Ruth helped Claire clean and seal the cabinet box. They sanded only the damaged areas, preserving Ellen's worn paint and the small crescent where someone had once dropped a skillet. New isn't the same as restored, Ruth said. What's the difference? New erases the argument. Claire looked at the mismatched wood patch beneath the sink. This looks like an argument. It looks won. The plumbing took 4 days. The first time Claire turned the kitchen faucet, brown water coughed into the basin, then ran clear. She watched it too long. The plumber leaned against the doorway. You planning to applaud? I might. Wait for hot. The used heater groaned in the pantry. A minute later, steam rose beneath Claire's hand. She laughed and cried at the same time, which made the plumber busy himself with his tools. The bathroom toilet flushed. The shower ran. 2 outlets worked in the parlor, and another powered a lamp in the downstairs bedroom. The rest of the house remained cold and dark, doors shut to conserve heat. Claire slept in the bedroom that night instead of the parlor. The blue quilt covered a mattress Evelyn had found through a church friend. The pink lamp stayed upstairs. Its brittle cord still needed replacement. A knock woke her after 11. Evelyn stood on the porch with a tall black woman wearing navy scrubs beneath a camel-colored coat. A rolling suitcase waited beside her. This is Simone Carter, Evelyn said. Claire pulled her coat closed over her sweatshirt. Hello? Simone looked exhausted but composed, the expression of someone using posture to hold herself together. Evelyn said, You might have a room next month, she said. I told her I only wanted to see it. Claire looked at the suitcase. Simone followed her gaze. My husband changed the locks. Evelyn's mouth tightened. We're separating, Simone added. It's not dangerous. It's just ugly. Claire stepped onto the porch and lowered her voice. The house isn't ready. The upstairs has no heat or electricity. I've stayed at the Highway Motel. It barely has dignity. You can't sleep upstairs. Do you have anything downstairs? Claire looked behind her at the parlor. The containment plastic was gone, but tools still lined one wall. The sofa remained under its sheet. The downstairs bedroom was the only finished room, and it contained everything Claire owned. Simone held up both hands. I'm not asking for charity. I can pay. I need 6 weeks, maybe 8. I start at 5:30 tomorrow morning. Where did you sleep last night? Simone's silence answered. Evelyn said, hospital lot. Claire felt the familiar pull, the one that had taken her out of college, kept her late at Golden Oaks, and taught everyone that she would solve whatever hurt entered the room. She looked at Evelyn. Evelyn did not rescue her from the decision. How much can you pay? Claire asked. Simone named a weekly amount larger than Claire expected. 2 weeks up front, Claire said. We write down what you get and what you don't. Kitchen, bathroom, downstairs room. No laundry yet. I'm not cooking for you. Good. I hate people touching my eggs. You clean your own space. I clean respiratory equipment. I can manage a sink. Claire hesitated. I need the first payment tonight. Simone opened her purse. Cash or transfer? Behind them, the pipes clicked inside the wall, adjusting to heat and pressure after years of silence. Claire stepped aside. You can have my room, she said. I'll take the parlor until we finish the next one. Evelyn touched her sleeve. That's not what you planned? No. Then charge enough for changing the plan. Claire looked at Simone. Simone nodded once. She's right. For the first time, opening the door did not feel like surrender. Claire named a higher amount. Simone transferred it before carrying her suitcase across the threshold. Simone carried her suitcase into the bedroom, set it beside the mattress, and stood with both hands on her hips. This is perfect, she said. One outlet worked. The walls were stained where pictures had hung. A strip of blue painter's tape covered a crack beside the window, and the closet smelled faintly of cedar and strongly of mouse. Claire waited for Simone to notice any of that. Instead, Simone crossed to the radiator and held her palm above it. Heat. I could kiss it. Please don't. It came from an estate sale. Then it's been through enough. Claire showed her the bathroom, kitchen, breaker panel, and fire extinguisher. She wrote the weekly amount, dates, shared areas, and 2-week payment on a sheet torn from an unused ledger in Roy's desk. Simone read every line. What happens if I leave early? She asked. You pay through the week you leave. What happens if you decide you don't like me? I give you 1 week unless you do something dangerous. What do you consider dangerous? Claire thought of Roy, Travis, and every man who had ever declared a ladder probably fine. We'll know it when we see it. Simone signed. Claire made a second copy by photographing the page and emailing it to both of them. It was not elegant, but it felt important. Ellen had opened rooms with clean sheets and trust. Claire opened one with written terms. At 4:30 the next morning, a cupboard door woke her. She sat up on the parlor sofa and reached for the brass bell. Simone appeared in the doorway wearing scrubs, 1 shoe, and an expression of apology. I was looking for a skillet. Bottom cabinet beside the stove. Your stove doesn't work. Then my information is useless. Simone lifted a small electric hot plate from behind her leg. I brought civilization. She cooked eggs in Ellen's cast iron skillet, which Claire found beneath the oven, and made enough for both of them without asking. I said I wasn't cooking for you, Claire reminded her. You aren't. This feels like a loophole. It's breakfast. Don't make it legal. They ate at the long kitchen table surrounded by tools and plastic bins. Simone added pepper to her eggs until they looked freckled. You sleep all right? Claire asked. Like I'd been hit with something. That sounds medical. It is if the right person hits you. Claire waited, but Simone offered nothing about her husband. Claire recognized the boundary and left it alone. At the door, Simone handed over a key Claire had labeled with blue tape. If my shifts change, I'll text, she said. If I bring anybody here, I'll ask first. Good. If my husband shows up, don't let him in. Claire's hand tightened around her coffee mug. You said it wasn't dangerous. It isn't. But he's persuasive when he thinks the room belongs to him. That sentence stayed with Claire after Simone drove away. The house changed quickly once someone else slept in it. There were 2 coffee mugs in the sink. A pair of practical black shoes stood beside the door. Simone left a folded hospital newsletter on the table and a bottle of expensive shampoo in the bathroom. She also noticed everything. The front lock sticks. I know. The shower runs cold after 7 minutes. I know. The parlor smoke detector isn't blinking. Claire looked up. I did not know. They replaced it that afternoon. Simone worked 12-hour shifts and sometimes returned too tired to form complete sentences. Other nights, she sat at the kitchen table with Claire while Claire entered orchard invoices. One evening, Simone brought home soup from the hospital cafeteria. It's supposed to be vegetable, she said. I found chicken, so now it's a mystery. Claire pushed a stack of receipts aside. How many travelers are at the hospital right now? 6, more coming. Respiratory, imaging, emergency. Where do they stay? Motels. Extended stay places north of Louisville. One rents somebody's converted garage. Is it nice? It has a toilet beside the microwave. Efficient. Simone studied her. You're thinking about the upstairs. I'm thinking about the electric bill. Same thought in a different coat. The first 2 weeks of rent paid for the mold clearance test and part of the electrical work. Claire used her orchard wages for food, gasoline, and the final month on her Indianapolis apartment. The transmission shop delivered its verdict in a voicemail she listened to twice. The repair would cost more than the Honda was worth. She sold it for parts. Matteo drove her to the farmhouse after work on days when Simone could not. Ruth arrived whenever she pleased, often carrying lumber offcuts or hardware she claimed had been taking up useful dust. They chose the upstairs room Evelyn had once occupied as the next one to restore. Its plaster was intact, and the chimney wall held warmth from downstairs. The electrician ran one new circuit along the hall without disturbing the old wiring. Claire stripped wallpaper, patched cracks, and sanded the floor by hand because a rented machine cost too much. Travis found her sitting in the doorway one Sunday, both arms vibrating from the sander. You look terrible, he said. Thank you. You missed a spot. She held out the sandpaper. Show me. He did. For 3 hours, he worked without asking for a cabinet. He complained about the dust, the floor, the angle of the light, and whoever had invented kneeling. When they finished, the maple boards showed pale and clean beneath them. Travis lay flat on his back. I'm taking this room. You can't afford it. I own half a business. So does Wade. Which half pays on time? He turned his head. You've gotten mean. I was always mean. You were distracted. His gaze shifted to the open window. On the lawn below, 3 shutters rested on sawhorses. Claire had removed them for repair. One needed a new rail. The others were sound but had lost most of their black paint. What are you doing with those? He asked, restoring them. They'd look good stained. They're being painted black. In my mudroom, they'd be protected from weather. In my mudroom, you'd be arrested. You don't have a mudroom. I have most of one. He smiled, but his eyes remained on the shutters. Take scraps, Claire said. Ruth left a pile by the shed. I don't want scraps. That's why they're available. They finished the room with paint Ruth had bought for a client who changed her mind about the color. The pale gray made the afternoon light look warmer. Evelyn repaired the cord on Ellen's pink lamp and placed it beside the bed. When Claire plugged it in, white roses glowed against the wall. Evelyn stood in the doorway. She'd like this? Mom? The lamp. It's been waiting to become important. Claire looked at her. Evelyn smiled. Yes, your mother. The room was ready before Claire was ready to rent it. She had calculated the weekly rate, written a stricter agreement, and listed the amenities honestly. Shared bathroom, limited kitchen storage, no laundry, quiet hours after 10. Still, the thought of another stranger inside the house made her protective. Simone solved the problem by bringing Aaron Pike to supper. She texted first, but only 10 minutes first. Aaron was a traveling imaging technician in his early 40s, with a shaved head, tortoiseshell glasses, and an enormous grocery store pie. I was told not to expect food, he said. You were told correctly? Claire replied. That's why I brought pie. You may enter. He had been staying at the Highway Motel for 9 weeks. His room faced the ice machine, which made a grinding sound every 14 minutes. You counted? Claire asked. I image people for a living. Detail is my curse. He toured the upstairs room, asked about smoke alarms, water pressure, parking, and whether the house had internet. No, Claire said. Aaron looked pained. Hotspot works by the east window. That is not internet. That is hope. The porch rail shifted beneath his hand when they returned downstairs. Third post, Claire said. I know, I can brace it. You don't get reduced rent for repairs. I didn't ask. People ask after they do the repair. Aaron considered her. Fair. What if I rent the room at your rate and repair the rail because I don't want to fall off the porch? That is acceptable. They shook on it, then signed the agreement. With Aaron upstairs and Simone downstairs, the house developed a rhythm Claire had not designed. Aaron left before sunrise twice a week. Simone came home after dark. Claire rode with Mateo to the orchard, worked until early afternoon, then returned with Ruth or Evelyn and spent the remaining daylight on repairs. Meals happened accidentally at first. Simone made too much chili. Aaron bought bread. Mateo stopped by to inspect the pear trees and stayed because the chili smelled better than whatever he had planned. Claire sat at the head of the long table, only because that chair was nearest the outlet for her laptop. Evelyn looked around at the bowls and elbows. House works best when full. Claire pointed her spoon at her. Don't quote dead men while I'm eating. I'm quoting the notebook. Same source. Across the lane, the machine shed stayed lit later each night. Wade began parking equipment along the gravel beside Claire's lower field. The first time, she assumed it was temporary. Then a header trailer appeared, followed by 2 grain carts and a rusted fuel tank. Claire crossed the lane before work. Wade stood over the open engine compartment of a combine while Travis worked at the desk. You need to move the equipment off my property, she said. Wade kept his eyes on the engine. It's along the lane. It's beyond the fence line. Dad always used that strip. Dad owned both sides. It's not hurting anything. Mateo needs access to prune the pears. He can go around. He shouldn't have to. Wade lowered the hood. We're reorganizing the yard, then organize your yard. Travis spun a pen between his fingers. Here we go. Claire faced him. You put the fuel tank there? It's empty. That wasn't my question. Wade wiped his hands. Give us until next month. Pay me for the month. Both men went quiet. Claire's heart beat harder, but her voice did not. You charge customers for storage, she said. I'm not asking for a favor. I'm telling you the rate. Wade laughed once without humor. You've got 2 boarders and now you're a landlord? I've got property you're using. Property Dad bought with money from the business. Property Dad left to me. Travis set down the pen. Wade looked toward the farmhouse where Aaron was bracing the porch rail, and Simone's car sat beside the steps. You didn't build that place, he said. No, Claire replied. Neither did you. For a second, she saw Roy's temper rise behind Wade's eyes. Then Wade pulled out his phone. What's the rate? Claire named one based on storage listings she had checked. That's ridiculous. It includes access. You sound like a brochure. You sound like a man parking for free. Travis covered his mouth, hiding a smile. Wade sent the payment. There, he said. Now Mateo can go around. No. The agreement includes scheduled access, not blocking it. Put it in writing, Claire. I will. She turned to leave. Behind her, Travis said, You're really charging your own brothers? Claire looked back at the invoices stacked beside him, the business keys on the desk, and the mud on Wade's boots. I'm charging the business, she said. Family is what keeps pretending the bill doesn't exist. When she returned that evening, the equipment had been moved into a straighter row. The sawhorses beside the farmhouse were empty. All 3 shutters were gone. Claire stared at the empty sawhorses until the shape of what was missing became undeniable. 3 black rectangles remained in the grass where the shutters had protected it from frost. The screws and labeled paper bags were gone too. Aaron came around the side of the house carrying a level. I told him you were keeping those. Who? He lowered the level. Your brother. Which one? The funny one. That does not narrow it the way you think. The one who offered me $50 to say I'd already hauled them away. Claire pulled out her phone and called Travis. He answered on the second ring. If this is about the fuel tank, it's moved. Bring back the shutters. Silence. Travis. I'm protecting them. You stole them. You can't steal trash. They were on sawhorses with hardware bagged and labeled. Ruth labels garbage. It's a compulsion. Where are you? Busy. She heard the low rumble of an engine behind his voice, then looked down the lane. Travis's pickup appeared around the curve, towing a small flatbed trailer. The 3 shutters lay strapped across it. He had not taken them to his house yet. He had driven to the machine shed for something else, apparently confident enough to pass the farmhouse with the evidence in full view. Claire stepped into the lane. Travis slowed but did not stop until the truck was close enough for her to see his irritated face through the windshield. He rolled down the window. "Move. Take them off the trailer. I'm already late." "For what?" "An appointment." "With my shutters?" "They're old boards, Claire. Then you won't mind returning them." Behind her, Aaron called, "You want me to stand there too?" "No." Travis leaned an elbow through the window. "This is why nobody can do anything for you. Taking my property is not doing something for me. They're warped. One's split. You said repairs cost money, so you decided to save me money by decorating your mudroom? I haven't decided where they're going. You asked about staining them. People ask things." Claire walked to the trailer and put one hand on the nearest shutter. Fresh scratches marked the rail where he had dragged it from the sawhorse. "Unload them." Travis opened his door, forcing her to step back. "You going to stop me?" "Yes." "How?" "I'm doing it." He looked toward the farmhouse. Simone's car had just pulled in. She stepped out in navy scrubs, took in the truck, the trailer, and Claire standing in the lane, then remained beside her car. Travis saw her. His voice dropped. "Don't perform for your renters. I didn't bring an audience. I brought home." His eyes flashed. "You brought strangers into Mom's house. At least I asked them before taking their belongings. That house was everybody's before Dad got sentimental. Dad owned it, because the business paid for it. Here we are again." Travis came around the truck. "You think that note makes you special?" Claire felt the envelope inside Roy's notebook, which she had carried in her work bag since moving from the parlor. She had started taking it everywhere without admitting why. "The note has nothing to do with the shutters." "Sure it does. Evelyn shows up with 4 pages of Dad feeling guilty, and suddenly you're billing us to park where we've parked for 20 years. You knew Dad was leaving me this place and still treated everything in it like salvage. Because it is salvage. Then why do you want it?" Travis opened his mouth. No answer came. Claire called Wade. He answered with machinery roaring behind him. "What?" "Come to the lane. I'm working." Travis took 3 shutters. There was a pause. Then Wade said, "I'll be there." Travis gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "You called Wade? You don't listen to me." "And Wade is what, Dad now?" Something in his tone exposed the bruise beneath the joke. Claire might have softened if the shutters had not been strapped behind him. Wade crossed from the machine shed in a work jacket, wiping grease from his hands. His gaze moved from Claire to Travis to the trailer. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I'm taking old wood she wasn't using. She was repairing them. They're decorations." "They close over windows," Claire said. "That's a function." Wade walked to the trailer and lifted the edge of one shutter. These were Mom's. Travis threw up both hands. Everything in the house was Mom's. The bowl was Mom's. The ugly lamp was Mom's. The cabinets were Mom's. Am I supposed to worship a drawer pull because she touched it? "No," Claire said. "You're supposed to leave it where it belongs." "According to who?" "According to the person who owns it," Wade said. Travis turned on him. "Don't start." "I'm not starting anything. Unload them." "You were ready to bulldoze the whole house. I said it was an option." "You laughed." Wade's face colored. "That doesn't make them yours. What's yours is yours, what's hers is hers, and what's mine belongs to the business. Is that where we are?" Wade took a step toward him. "What does that mean?" "It means you moved the restoration account. It means I stopped you from ordering a grain head we don't need. We have the spring contract. We don't have the cash. We will when they pay. If they pay on time, they will. They were 90 days late last year." Travis glanced toward Simone and Aaron, suddenly aware that the argument had widened in public. Claire said, "This isn't about the business. It is all about the business," Travis snapped. "That place exists because Dad worked. The land exists because Dad worked. You left, and now you're charging us rent for dirt he paid for." Claire's throat tightened. The old accusation had not changed, only found better clothes. "I left after Mom died. You stayed long enough for everybody to tell you what a saint you were, then you left us with him." "Travis," Wade warned. "No. She wants everything named. Let's name it." Dad was miserable. He couldn't climb stairs. He fought every doctor. Wade and I got his groceries, fixed his furnace, handled his contracts. Claire made phone calls when she remembered, and she got the apology. The words landed with enough truth to hurt. Claire looked at Wade. He did not defend her. For a moment, the lane held only the tick of Travis's cooling engine. Then Claire opened Roy's notebook. Her hands shook as she removed the folded pages. "I didn't ask him to write this," she said. Travis's jaw worked. "I don't care. I would rather he said it when I was 22 and trying to understand why he looked at me like I'd failed." I said, "I don't care." Claire found the line. "The boys know the fields and the machines. They stayed and learned the work I knew how to teach." She looked up. "He saw that you stayed." Travis stared past her. She continued, "You know what a house is for. Your mother knew it too. I hope I have not taught you too late that those are different kinds of work." "That's supposed to fix it?" Travis asked. "No." "Then what's your point?" "My point is he divided what he had according to the work he thought we understood. Not who suffered most. Not who deserved him most. You got a house and a love letter. I got a broken house and an apology from a dead man. At least you got one." The anger went out of Claire so suddenly that she almost swayed. Wade looked down. There it was. Not greed, not even contempt. Two sons who had stayed beside Roy and received machinery, debt, and instructions. Claire had received the words he had denied, all three of them, while alive. "I'm sorry," she said. Travis laughed harshly. "Now everybody's sorry." He walked toward the truck. Wade caught his arm. "Unload them." Travis pulled free. "Do it yourself. I've been doing that for months." The sentence stopped him. Wade's voice remained low. "You promised Harlan's contract before checking the overhaul schedule. You ordered parts on credit without telling me. And now you're taking from Claire because you decided old means free. I'm building something too." "With what money?" Travis's face changed. Wade saw it. "How much?" "Not here." "How much business money went into your house?" "None. That wasn't the question." Travis looked at Claire, as if she had arranged the humiliation. Then he climbed into the truck and slammed the door. Claire remained in the lane. He started the engine. "Move," he said through the open window. "No." "Claire, take the shutters off." The truck idled. She could feel its vibration through the gravel. Simone moved away from her car, but Claire lifted one hand, asking her to stay back. Travis gripped the wheel. Wade walked behind the trailer, released the straps, and began unloading the shutters alone. After several seconds, Aaron joined him. Claire did not move until all three lay on the grass. Travis drove away with the empty trailer rattling behind him. Wade picked up the bag of screws from the trailer bed before it disappeared. He handed it to Claire. "You shouldn't have had to stand in front of the truck. He wasn't going to hit me. That's not the point." "What is?" Wade looked down the lane where Travis had gone. "I don't know anymore." Together they carried the shutters back to the sawhorses. One rail had split farther during the trip. Aaron examined it. "I can glue and clamp this." "Ruth should see it," Claire said. "I'll do what Ruth says. That's wise." Simone came onto the porch carrying a paper grocery bag. "I bought chicken." Claire wiped both palms on her jeans. They were streaked with black paint from the shutter. "I'm not hungry. I didn't ask if you were." Wade started toward the machine shed. "Stay," Claire said. He stopped. Simone lifted the bag. "There's enough." Wade looked at the farmhouse through the front door into the hall. Aaron's boots stood on the mat. The parlor sofa was uncovered now, blue quilt folded over its back. Light from Ellen's repaired lamp glowed at the top of the stairs. "I have work," he said. "You always have work." "So do you." "Yes." Claire held the door open. After a long hesitation, Wade came inside. He ate at the long table without removing his work jacket. Simone had roasted the chicken with onions and too much rosemary. Aaron told a story about a patient who had arrived for imaging with 3 watches and no identification. Evelyn appeared halfway through the meal because Simone had texted her. Mateo came by to return a folder Claire left at the orchard and accepted a plate before pretending he had not planned to. Wade spoke little, but Claire caught him looking around the kitchen, the restored cabinet, the blue knobs, the patched ceiling, the sink full of dishes, as if he had expected the house to remain frozen at the moment they mocked it. After supper, he helped Claire carry plates to the sink. "You were right about the work," she said quietly. He turned on the hot water. "What?" You and Travis did the work Dad knew how to see. Wade rinsed a plate. He saw plenty. He just charged interest on saying it. Did he ever thank you? For what? That's not an answer. He stacked the plate in the drying rack. Dad said the business would fail if either one of us walked away. Claire waited. That was as close as he got, Wade said. To thanking you? To asking us to stay. Claire looked toward the table, where the others were arguing about whether pie counted as breakfast. I can show you the letter, she said. Wade dried his hands. No, he replied. He wrote it to you. He left through the front door. Outside, freezing rain had begun to tick against the porch rail. The weather alert on Claire's phone warned of ice accumulation overnight and possible power outages across the county. Across the lane, Wade stood alone in the machine shed light, calling Travis again. This time, Travis did not answer. Claire's phone sounded another alert before Wade reached the machine shed. Ice storm, warning upgraded. Travel may become impossible. Simone read over Claire's shoulder. The hospital will call. Can you get there? Not in my car once this freezes. Aaron checked the weather on his phone. 1/2 inch of ice by morning. Mateo went to the front window. The rain had changed from drops to tiny glass beads that clung to the porch rail, more than that on the hills. Evelyn began putting on her coat. Claire stared at her. Where are you going? Home. You drove here. I've been driving since before you were an inconvenience. The road is freezing. So is my house if I don't check the heat. Call your neighbor. My neighbor believes thermostat numbers are political. Simone took Evelyn's coat from her and hung it back on the hook. Evelyn looked at her. That was bold. You trained me? I trained you to assess before acting. I assessed you'd leave if I asked. Evelyn sat down again. I dislike you more every year. Thank you. The lights flickered. Everyone looked up. Claire's new circuits held for 3 seconds. Then the kitchen went dark. The refrigerator stopped humming. The house became quiet except for ice ticking against the windows. Breaker? Aaron asked. Whole road, Wade called from the porch. He came inside carrying a flashlight. Ice shone across his shoulders. The machine shed's out, he said. Lights toward town are gone too. Generator, Claire said. Yours won't run the house. I don't need the house. I need the refrigerator, 1 radiator, and a lamp. The well pump? I'm on county water. Water heater? Not at the same time. Wade looked at her. What? Nothing. You made a face. I'm impressed. Don't ruin it. They went outside together. The generator sat beneath a metal shelter Aaron had built from leftover roofing, far enough from the house to vent safely. Claire checked the oil before Wade could say it. He fetched gasoline from the machine shed while she uncoiled the orange cord. The engine started on the second pull. Inside, they divided the load. Refrigerator first, radiator second. The kitchen lamp came on. Claire unplugged the water heater and taped the switch in the off position so no one could turn it on accidentally. Simone's phone rang. She listened, asked 3 short questions, then looked at Aaron. Emergency department's on backup power. They need respiratory and imaging. County truck can get to the junction, but not up this lane. Mateo took his keys from the table. My pickup can. No, Claire and Evelyn said together. Mateo looked offended. 4-wheel drive. Ice does not care how many wheels are arrogant, Evelyn said. Wade checked through the front window. I can get them to the junction in the grain truck. It's loaded enough to hold the road. You just told me the business had no cash, Claire said. Now you're volunteering a grain truck as an ambulance? Not an ambulance, a ride. Aaron was already pulling on his coat. I need my bag. Simone disappeared into her room. Claire looked from Wade to the shining lane. Is this safe? No, he said. That was not the answer I wanted. It's safer now than in an hour. He called Travis again while Aaron and Simone gathered their things. This time, Travis answered. Where are you? Wade demanded. His expression changed as he listened. What ditch? Claire stepped closer. Wade turned away. Stay in the truck. I'm coming. He ended the call. He slid off near Colson's curve, he said. Truck's upright. He says he's fine. You can't do both, Claire said. I'll take Simone and Aaron to the junction, then get him. Colson's is the other direction. I know where Colson's is. Mateo held out his hand. Give me the grain truck keys. You get Travis? Wade hesitated. I drove worse roads before you learned where the clutch was, Mateo said. Loaded truck pulls right under braking. Then I will be grateful the road turns left. Wade handed him the keys. Simone looked at Claire. The hospital has 2 night nurses who can't drive home. If the county truck brings them to the junction, bring them here. You have space? Claire looked up the dark staircase. Only Aaron's room had electricity, but the other bedrooms had beds or frames. The linen closet still held Ellen's sheets, laundered now. Heat from downstairs rose through the hall if doors stayed open. I have blankets, she said. Bring whoever needs a place. Evelyn went to the pantry. Fill every pot before pressure drops. I'm on county water. County water is not holy. Fill the pots. They worked without discussing who was in charge. Claire filled pots, pitchers, and the yellow mixing bowl. Evelyn inventoried food. Mateo left with Simone and Aaron in the grain truck. Wade took Roy's Ford toward Colson's curve, moving slowly enough that Claire could hear the tires crunch until the truck disappeared. A branch struck the roof. The impact shook plaster dust from the parlor ceiling. Evelyn looked up. That was large. Do we go outside and stand under the next one? Good point. Wind pressed against the farmhouse. The open shutters banged once against the siding. Claire's stomach dropped. The restored ones were still not hung. 3 upstairs windows stood exposed, including Evelyn's old room. Ice already silvered the glass. We need to close every shutter that works, Claire said. Now? That's what they're for. Evelyn carried the lantern while Claire moved room to room. The interior bars dropped across the closed shutters, holding them tight against the windows. Some met cleanly. Others left narrow seams that hissed with wind. At the east bedroom, Ellen's pink lamp was dark. Claire closed one shutter, but the second resisted. Ice had formed along its outer edge. She pushed. The hinge groaned. Stop, Evelyn said. You'll tear it off. If I leave it open, the window could break. If you tear it off, the window could break and you'll be holding 40 pounds of wood. Claire released it. Downstairs, headlights moved slowly along the lane. The grain truck returned first. Mateo backed it near the porch. Simone and Aaron jumped down, followed by 2 women and a man Claire had never met. This is Lila Grant, Simone said, guiding a woman in green scrubs up the icy steps. Emergency nurse. That's Dean from lab and Paula from Central Supply. Lila carried a canvas tote stuffed with study manuals. Dean had a grocery sack containing 6 bananas, a jar of peanut butter, and nothing else. Paula clutched a small aquarium wrapped in a towel. Claire stared at it. Fish, Paula said. My apartment lost power. He needs heat. Of course he does. The aquarium went beside the radiator. Dean's bananas joined Evelyn's food inventory. Lila took the narrow bedroom beside Aaron's and immediately stripped off her wet socks. The farmhouse filled with adult voices, wet coats, bags, and the repeated question of where things belonged. Claire answered until people started answering one another. Boots by the door, bathrooms downstairs. Don't plug anything in without asking. Parlor is warmest. Upstairs doors stay open. Aaron ran an extension cord only as far as the hall and placed a low-wattage lamp there. Simone arranged bedding. Lila checked Evelyn's blood pressure after Evelyn called the cuff unnecessary twice. Roy's Ford returned an hour later. Wade came through the door, supporting Travis, who had blood dried along one temple. Simone crossed the room immediately. What happened? Airbag, Travis said. You lose consciousness? No. Vomiting? No. Headache? I'm with my family. Scale of 1 to 10, 9. She sat him at the kitchen table and shone a light into his eyes. Wade's face was pale with anger. He was driving too fast. I was driving 20, on ice. The ditch came up. Ditches are fixed locations. Claire brought a clean towel and warm water. Simone cleaned the cut. It was shallow but bled freely. Travis looked around the kitchen while she worked. Dean was slicing bananas. Paula knelt beside the aquarium, checking water temperature. Lila sat on the bottom stair, studying cardiac rhythms beneath the hall lamp. Aaron and Mateo were discussing how to brace the generator shelter if the wind increased. Who are these people? Travis asked. People inside, Claire said. That's not an answer. It is tonight. He winced as Simone pressed gauze to his temple. His gaze reached the doorway, where the 3 returned shutters leaned against the wall, awaiting repair. I was bringing them back, he said. No, you weren't. I might have. Hold still, Simone ordered. The wind strengthened near midnight. Ice accumulated faster than predicted, coating every branch and wire. From the porch, the orchard looked made of glass. Beautiful, Mateo said, right before things began to break. The first apple limb came down near the old shed. The second struck the pantry roof, but slid off without puncturing it. Then a cracking sound traveled from the east side of the house, slow and deep. Mateo grabbed Claire's arm, away from the windows. Everyone moved toward the central hall. A pear limb fell against the farmhouse. Glass shattered upstairs. The sound sliced through every voice. Claire started toward the stairs. Wade caught her coat. Wait, that's Ellen's room. It's glass, not a person. Freezing air rushed down the hall. The generator strained as the radiator ran continuously. Aaron took a plywood panel from the repair stack. Wade found screws. Mateo carried a ladder only as far as the top landing, before all three agreed the exterior was too dangerous. They covered the broken window from inside. The limb had struck the shutter that would not close. The shutter absorbed part of the impact before twisting from its top hinge. Glass scattered across the bed and floor beneath it. Ellen's pink lamp lay on its side. Claire picked it up. A white rose had chipped from the ceramic base, but the lamp remained whole. Behind her, Wade examined the damaged shutter. If this had been open all the way, the limb would have come through farther. Claire looked at him. Mom made them functional, he said. Yes. Downstairs, Travis stood at the foot of the staircase, watching. No one mentioned the trailer. They boarded the window, shut the bedroom door, and stuffed towels along the gap. Ruth's name went onto Claire's repair list in her head. So did glass, hinge, plaster, pear tree. The list no longer frightened her in the same way. It was long because the house was being used. Damage was not proof of failure. Sometimes it was simply the price of remaining open during weather. Near 2 a.m, the generator coughed. Claire went outside with Wade to refuel it. Ice stung her face. The lane had disappeared beneath a smooth white sheet. Across the road, a heavy limb had fallen onto the machine shed roof. Wade aimed his flashlight. The metal had buckled over one bay. What's under there? Claire asked. The combine. The one for the spring contract? He did not answer. Can we move it? Not while branches are falling. Will the roof hold? I don't know. Travis had followed them to the porch, coat thrown over his shoulders. It'll hold, he said. Wade turned. You don't know that. It's steel. So was the header bearing you didn't replace. Travis's face tightened. Not tonight. When? I said not tonight. You keep saying later until later costs everybody. Claire stood between them in the freezing rain, one hand on the gas can. Inside, she said. Neither moved. People need the heat. Fight when the generator is full. Travis took the can from her. Together, the three of them refueled the machine. By dawn, the ice stopped falling. The farmhouse remained lit by one kitchen lamp, one hall lamp, and Ellen's chipped pink lamp plugged into the safe outlet downstairs. Bodies slept on sofas, mattresses, and folded quilts. Coffee heated on Simone's hot plate. The fish survived. Outside, the orchard had lost limbs, the machine shed roof sagged, and Travis's truck remained in a ditch. Claire stood at the long table, counting mugs. Roy's note lay beside the fruit bowl where she had left it after the argument. Wade picked it up, but did not unfold it. I don't want the business if it turns me into him, he said. Travis, seated across from him, with a bandage on his temple, gave a tired laugh. Little late to worry. Wade put the note down. No, he said. It isn't. Travis pressed 2 fingers to the bandage on his temple. You want to sell? He asked. I want the business run like a business. So do I. No, you want it to feel like Dad never died. The kitchen went still around them. Claire heard the radiator click and the soft air pump beside Paula's aquarium. Travis leaned back. You're the one wearing his jacket. Wade looked down at the faded work coat. It's warm, sure. Claire set 2 mugs on the table. Coffee first. Inherited emotional damage after. Neither brother smiled, but Wade took the mug. The road remained closed until afternoon. While they waited, everyone worked. Aaron and Mateo removed the fallen pear limb after the wind settled. Wade climbed only high enough to examine the pantry roof from the ladder and declared the damage ugly but dry. Lila swept glass from Ellen's bedroom while Claire held a garbage bag. Simone changed the dressing on Travis's forehead and threatened to tape his hands together when he kept touching it. Dean repaired a loose drawer for no apparent reason. Paula's fish, whose name turned out to be Mr. Pickles, watched from beside the radiator. The county truck arrived after 2. It collected Simone, Aaron, Lila, Dean, and Paula for the hospital. Lila paused on the porch with her study bag over one shoulder. That upstairs room available after the windows fixed? Claire looked at the ice-coated limb lying in the yard. It has a few ventilation problems. I'm in an apartment with no power, and a landlord who says candles count as emergency heat. 2 weeks up front, Claire said. Written agreement. No discount for surviving the storm. Lila held out her hand. Deal. When the others had gone, the farmhouse felt suddenly oversized. Evelyn slept in the parlor beneath the blue quilt, snoring softly and denying it whenever she woke. Mateo went home to inspect South Ridge. Wade and Travis crossed the lane to the damaged machine shed. Claire followed an hour later. The limb had crushed the roof above one bay but missed the center of the combine. Ice and bent metal pinned the machine in place. Wade stood beneath the undamaged section, studying the load points. Travis sat at the desk with his head in his hands. Claire stopped beside the invoices. What happens now? Wade did not look away from the roof. We bring in a crew when the road's clear, lift the metal, inspect the combine. And the contract? We need the machine ready in 6 weeks. Travis looked up. It'll be ready. Wade's mouth tightened. Tell her, he said. Travis stared at him. Tell me what? Claire asked. The grain head, Wade said. Travis paid a deposit on one we don't need. We will need it. Not this year. It was priced below market. Because it needs work. Claire looked between them. Did business money go into Travis's house? No, Travis said. I took an owner draw. My draw. Before we closed the year, Wade replied. Then you used the operating account for the equipment deposit. That is not stealing. I didn't say it was. I said it left us short. Travis stood too fast, caught himself against the desk, and winced. We sell the old grain cart, he said. Move funds around. Get through the contract. Wade finally turned from the roof. Or we sell the new head. Take the loss. And stop pretending every purchase becomes smart if we defend it long enough. That's Dad talking. No, Dad would have hidden it until harvest. The sentence struck them all. Wade looked at Claire. If we lose the contract, we may have to sell one building. She understood what he had not yet asked. You can rent my lower field for equipment, she said. At the rate we agreed on. We may need the barn too. Then I'll give you a rate for the barn, Travis laughed, still charging us. Yes. You've got enough rent coming in. You don't know what I have. We know the house is paying now. The house is repairing itself one room at a time. That money pays for heat, water, taxes, insurance, and the window your pear limb broke. Our pear limb, my tree, your storm. Everybody's problem. Wade picked up an invoice and folded it once. What if we can't pay in advance? Then you don't use the barn. Travis shook his head. Dad would have let us. Dad left it to me. There's the note again. No, there's the boundary again. Claire waited for the familiar guilt to make her bargain against herself. It came. She let it come. Then she said, I'm not selling the land. I'm not using room money to cover the business. I'll rent you space on the same terms I'd give anyone else. Wade nodded. Travis looked at him. You're accepting this? I'm listening. You always listen to her now. I should have listened before. Travis grabbed his coat from the chair. Where are you going? Wade asked. Home. Your truck's in a ditch. Then I'll walk. The road to his house was nearly 4 miles. Claire almost offered Roy's Ford. Wade almost stopped him. Neither did. Travis left through the side door, stepping carefully over the ice. The brothers kept the spring contract, but not without cost. The roof crew freed the combine. Repairs consumed the remaining cushion in the operating account. Wade sold the grain head at a loss and canceled plans to replace one of the trucks. Travis called it panic. Wade called it arithmetic. They stopped speaking except at work. Claire heard the details and fragments because Wade continued renting the lower strip and paid on the 1st of every month. He emailed a 1-page agreement after Claire requested it, then revised the access hours when Mateo complained about equipment blocking the orchard path. No apology accompanied the changes. None was needed. Ruth rebuilt the broken shutter rail from tulip poplar, salvaged behind her workshop. She preserved the deep scratch Travis's trailer had left across the face. You could sand that out, Claire said. I could also sand until it isn't the same board. Together they rehung all 3 shutters. Wade arrived while they were lifting the last one. He climbed the ladder without asking, held the weight while Claire set the hinge pins. then tested the interior bar from inside the room. The shutters met over the new window with a solid wooden knock. "Functional," he said. "Mom would be relieved. Mom would say the black doesn't match. It's the same paint. She'd know." He climbed down. Across the lane, Travis's truck no longer parked beside the machine shed. He had stopped coming to the farmhouse after the storm. "Where is he?" Claire asked, looking for somebody to buy his share. Her hand slipped on the ladder. "He's leaving the business. He says I turned it into a prison." "Did you?" "Probably." Wade glanced toward the machine shed. "Just one with bookkeeping. Do you want him out?" "No." The answer was immediate. Then he added, "I can't keep owning his decisions." Claire leaned the ladder against the wall. "That sounds familiar." Wade looked at the repaired shutters. "I should have stopped him before he loaded these." "You did stop him? After you stood in the lane?" "Yes." "I'm sorry." The apology was plain, almost impatient. It did not ask her to make him feel better. Claire nodded. "Thank you." Travis found a buyer for part of his share by summer, a neighboring contractor who wanted the customer list and use of one storage building. Wade borrowed carefully to purchase the rest over time. The business became smaller. Wade sold equipment they had once displayed like trophies and kept the machines he could maintain. Travis's mudroom remained unfinished. He sent Claire one message after the sale. "Hope your strangers take care of Mom's house." Claire wrote 3 answers and deleted them all. Finally, she sent, "They take care of their home. You can visit when you're ready to do the same." He did not reply. By then, Lila occupied the repaired east room and studied for her certification exam at the long kitchen table. Aaron extended his contract at the hospital. Simone found an apartment in town, but still came for Sunday supper, usually with eggs and no warning. Claire completed the second upstairs bedroom with rent from the first 2. She installed laundry only after calculating water use and raising the weekly rate. Every resident signed terms. Every resident cleaned a shared area. Nobody received a discount for telling a sad story, including Claire. The farmhouse did not become easy. A radiator failed in February. Carpenter ants appeared in May. The porch roof leaked in a place everyone had sworn was dry. Claire continued working 3 mornings at South Ridge, and Nadine continued refusing to retire because Arizona, she decided, contained too many decorative lizards. Mateo taught Claire to prune. "Cut what crosses," he told her beneath the old pear tree. "Cut what grows inward. Leave enough for the tree to feed itself." Claire held the saw against a branch. "That sounds like advice pretending to be horticulture. It is horticulture pretending not to be advice." The oldest pear survived. It produced only 14 usable pears that year, all scarred. Claire put them in a bowl on the kitchen table. Nobody complained. When the anniversary of Roy's death arrived, cold rain darkened the porch boards but did not freeze. Claire finished work early and found Evelyn sitting in a rocking chair beside the front door. "You let yourself in?" Claire asked. "I had a key before you. You surrendered that key. I made another. That feels illegal. It feels retired." Inside, the house prepared itself for supper. Aaron chopped onions. Lila studied while stirring soup with one hand. Simone arrived carrying cornbread. Mateo brought cider. Ruth came with a replacement pantry shelf and installed it before removing her coat. Wade crossed the lane last. He wiped his boots carefully, placed a store-bought pie on the table, and looked around for instructions. "Plates," Claire said. He took down 9. 1 remained unused beside the stack. Claire did not remove it. After supper, she brought Roy's note from the desk. The paper had softened along its folds. A faint smear of black paint marked one corner from the day of the shutters. "I've never read all of this out loud," she said. Conversation faded. Wade sat across from her. Evelyn rested both hands on the table. Around them were people Roy had known, people he had never met, and people Ellen would have fed before learning their last names. Claire read. She did not make Roy wiser than he had been. His sentences remained awkward. His shame remained late. When she reached the part about Ellen's illness, her voice shook, but she continued. "When your mother needed care, you did what I could not do. You gave up school, and instead of thanking you, I acted like you had failed to finish something." Wade lowered his eyes. Claire read the line about the fields and machines, then the line about knowing what a house was for. At the end, she included Roy's message about Travis hitting the culvert. A small laugh moved around the table. Wade smiled, but grief stayed in it. "He did hit that culvert," he said. "In July," Claire replied. "Loose gravel," Wade said. Summer ice, Evelyn added. The empty plate remained beside the stack. Claire folded the note. No one offered a lesson about forgiveness. Ruth asked who wanted pie. Simone said everyone did. Aaron argued that he had brought better pie the first night he came. Lila turned on Ellen's pink lamp, its chipped rose facing the wall. Later, after the others left or climbed upstairs, Claire and Evelyn sat on the porch. Light glowed through every uncovered window. The shutters rested open against the siding, black paint uneven where old wood met new repairs. Their scars showed in the porch light. Across the lane, Wade locked the machine shed and raised one hand before going home. "You staying?" Claire asked Evelyn, for another minute. The farmhouse settled around them. Pipes clicked. Someone laughed upstairs. A cupboard door closed in the kitchen. Claire had once mistaken an empty house for a verdict. Now she listened to the ordinary noise inside it, the costly, inconvenient, living sound of people who had keys because she had chosen to give them one. Evelyn touched Claire's hand. "You opened the shutters," she said. Claire looked at the lit windows. "No," she replied. "I kept them."